Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 7th episode of the story in which Naruto almost dies at Final Valley, but fate still wants him to live. The Shinigami takes an interest in Naruto and makes him its first summoner. Watch Naruto as he shows the world what it's like to summon the Death God. This story comes from Kyubigoku. Make certain to support him, her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Next morning, doesn't it feel good to be alive, Zabuza-sama? Haku asked, stretching from the bed she was sleeping on while Zabuza was putting his clothes on. He turned a glare to his daughter and merely snorted. I thought I'd finally be free of this damn world, and the brat revives me and he's the summoner to one of the most powerful gods in the world. Oh yeah, it feels real good to be alive, Zabuza said with a roll of his eyes, and Haku chuckled as she patted her surrogate father's back, consoling him. The two missed shinobi quickly got to their feet and left their rooms and walked down the stairs, having smelled the wonderful breakfast that Tsunami was making for everyone. Good morning, Haku said with a small smile as everyone turned around. Naruto waved a good morning and Sasuke snorted, but he did say hello. Yura gave her a good morning while Yuri was still sleeping soundly on her lap. Well, it seems that everyone is awake right now. Well, mostly everyone, Naruto said, glancing at Yuri, and Yura chuckled with a nod while she stroked her little sister's red hair. That is true, she responded before Yura saw Yuri open her eyes. She glanced up at her sister and smiled before looking at the blonde who was smiling at her. Yuri widened her eyes and sat up before looking around at the number of people. Why, Yuri-nichan, where are we? Yuri asked, and Yura smiled as she patted Yuri's head softly. Easy, Yuri. We're safe. We were saved by him, Yura said, pointing towards Naruto, who was scratching his cheek. Yuri looked at Naruto up and down, eyeing his attire before she gave a small blush and bowed. Thank you, Yuri paused since she didn't know his name, and Naruto chuckled. Naruto Uzumaki, and no need for thanks. What's family for, right? He asked, and Yuri raised an eyebrow while Yura snickered, making her little sister turn to her. What's he mean, Yuri-nichan? I've never seen him before, Yuri said, and Yura sighed. Apparently you and I aren't the only Uzumaki Yuri. Didn't you hear his last name? He's an Uzumaki just like us, Yura said, and Yuri gasped before turning back to Naruto, who was chuckling sheepishly. Yura wondered how Yuri would feel about such information as the young redhead stood to her feet and walked in front of Naruto. Everyone tensed before Yuri rushed Naruto and hugged him. He's so cute, One-ichan. I've always wanted an older brother. Can I call you Nisan? She asked him, and Naruto chuckled as he rubbed the back of his head. I'm sure, Dadabayo, he said, and Yuri looked at Naruto like he was the best person right now while Yura seemed shocked. I told you, One-ichan. I told you I wasn't the only one with that verbal tick, Yuri said as she rubbed Naruto's cheek sensually while the blonde blushed. Yura sighed and pulled Yuri away from Naruto while giving the blonde an apology for her actions and motioned for him to follow her towards the woods. Naruto nodded and told Haku and Sasuke to watch Yuri for the moment as the two walked away. So your name is Sasuke? Yuri asked, and the Uchiha snorted. Yeah, what of it? He asked, and Yuri scratched her cheek. Are you, homo? Yuri asked, and Sasuke growled while Haku lightly snickered and Zabuza laughed. Tsunami fumbled with some of the food while Sasuke jumped to his feet, surprising the teenage girl. I'm straight, he yelled, and Yuri pulled out a book from her pouch called Flowers of Romance. Really? Because there is a Sasuke in this book and he's in love with a younger man named Yun. It's a good book. This isn't you? She asked, and Zabuza was clutching his stomach while Haku blushed at the thought of a 14-year-old girl reading such things. It's not. Sasuke yelled, and Yuri rubbed the back of her head. Oh. Sorry then. My mistake, Dadabayan, she said, and Sasuke growled as he laid his elbow on the table and his head in his head as he looked out the window. With Naruto and Yura, the two Uzumaki were currently a bit of distance from the house, and Yura stopped Naruto before turning around and sitting on the ground. Naruto followed her lead and Yura coughed. First off, I'd like to thank you for saving us. I'd rather not think about what would have happened to us if you didn't show up, Yura said, and Naruto waved her off. Think nothing of it. Like I said, what is family for, right? Naruto asked, and Yura smiled with a nod while she brushed a hand through her vibrant red hair and let it flap through the wind. I suppose that's right, but moving on. You said that you're an Uzumaki. Who are your parents? She asked curiously, and Naruto smiled while pointing to himself. My parents are Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, Naruto said, and Yura widened her eyes. The Yondaime of Konoha? You're his son. Wait, if you're his son, then why haven't you had the last name Namikaze? Yura asked, and Naruto sighed as he looked at the sky. I'd rather not tell this whole story, but I'll say that conditions of my birth made it so that I was called Uzumaki for all my life. I have nothing against taking my father's name, but I find it meaningless now. It would be weird to be called Namikaze now, so I've stuck with Uzumaki. It's the most natural to me, Naruto answered, and while Yura would have wanted to ask about his life, she knew better than to pry, especially since he didn't pry about hers, but something told her that she would know of his life and he would know about hers. I see, well, that makes sense. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. After Yuri and I eat, we will get out of your hair and go back to no Kuni, Yura said, and Naruto cocked his head to the side. Why would you leave? I thought you'd like to come with me, Naruto said, and Yura lightly chuckled. Well, we wouldn't want to impose on you or anything. The idea of having family is nice and all, but don't you think it would be weird just to go wherever with you just because we met now? She asked, but Naruto waved her off. Not really. I think Ka-chan would like to meet you. Why not come with me? I heard from those bandits that they burned down your home before they took you, Naruto said with the touchy subject, and Yura closed her eyes with a sigh and balled her fists. I should have seen it coming. Those assholes attacked our town. No doubt all my and Yuri's stuff was destroyed. I've trained all my life and that happens, she said, and while Naruto raised an eyebrow. You've trained? He asked, and Yura nodded. Why wouldn't I? She asked, and Naruto eyed the 15-year-old Uzumaki with a glare as he examined her body. Her wearing civilian clothing, her casual look, and her calm demeanor. Well, you don't look all that threatening, Naruto said before he reacted on a small instinct and used his sword to parry a kunai while Yura smiled. Not a lot you would know about me. Don't worry about it. I train a lot, she said, and Naruto decided to take her word for it before they stopped tensing and relaxed. Alright then. We'll give each other a Kakashi-like introduction, Naruto said, and Yura raised an eyebrow. Who? She asked, and Naruto chuckled. You'll know him in a few days. Anyway, we'll say our names, likes, dislikes, dreams, and what we train in. Here, I'll go first, Naruto said, and Yura nodded, paying close attention. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, Ka-chan, Kenjutsu, my summons, which are the toads and Shinigami. My dislikes are those who dare to hurt others for no reason, bandits, rapists, and the other assholes that this world has to offer. My dream is to become Hokage as well as bring back the Uzumaki clan. I train in Whirlpool Revenge Kenjutsu and I'm a Konoha Shinobi, Naruto finished, and Yura seemed to understand everything. She nodded and coughed before moving some more of her hair out of her way. I see. I'm Yura Uzumaki. I like vegetables, training, Yuri, and protecting what's important to me. My dislikes are all the same and those who dare to look down on me. My dream is to be an outstanding kunoichi and for Yuri to find someone that will love her unconditionally. Sister's dream, you know. I train myself in Swirling Tides Kenjutsu. I have no full loyalty to any village. I worked various jobs to earn an income. My taijutsu is swift and strong. I know enough ninjutsu, but my genjutsu leaves much to be desired, she finished, and Naruto nodded. Just like me. Well, alright then. So will you come with me? he asked, and Yura folded her arms. To where, if I might ask? She asked him, worrying slightly, if only for Yuri's safety in the matter. To Uzumaki, the home of the Uzumaki clan and the base for Heineken, Naruto said while Yura seemed confused. Heineken? She asked, and Naruto nodded. I'll explain later. So? You comin'? Naruto asked, and Yura closed her eyes and thought it over. Going back to Kuni would be more of a hassle than not, especially with Yuri and her still growing skill as a kunoichi under Yura's guidance. Plus the money it would take to even try and rebuild their house would be all but unmanageable. Yura sighed and smiled lightly before nodding. Please take care of us, Ni-sama, Yura said, and Naruto grinned like mad as he hopped to his feet and, taking Yura's hand, got her to her feet also. Yeah, you can count on me, he said with some unexpected closeness that made Yura blush. Alright, Yura said before she followed Naruto back to the house while wondering what just made her act like that. Back at the house, Yura and Naruto returned to see everyone eating while Haku and Yuri were talking about some kind of book, whereas Sasuke and Zabuza were eating silently. Had fun talking to your girlfriend, Dobe? Sasuke asked while Naruto and Yura lightly blushed. Shut up, team, Naruto said, sitting down, and Yura took a seat next to him and smiled at Yuri's smile. Yuri, make sure to gather all that you can. We're going to be moving with Ni-sama, Yura said, making Sasuke widen his eyes, and Yuri's smile gleamed as she stood up. Really, Wani-chan? We'll be living with Ni-san? Yuri asked, and Yura nodded, taking a sip of some tea while Yuri hugged Naruto, making the two Uzumaki smile at each other while Tsunami seemed happy for them. And what about us? Zabuza asked while Naruto glanced at them. Yura and Yuri turned to them, and Yuri gave Naruto a pleading look. Please, Ni-san. Let them come with us. I really like Haku-chan, Yuri said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. You two should be able to do whatever. Right? Naruto asked, and Haku shook her head. Well, even though I want to. Like live continue to serve Zabuza-sama, but my entire being is telling me that I need your approval, Haku said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. I hate to say it, but mine too. I feel like I need to serve you, Zabuza said with a low growl, and Naruto looked at his arm. Is it the seal? Naruto wondered before he closed his eyes. He knew he couldn't avoid it anymore. He'd have to tell his team. He'd like to keep all tabs on Zabuza and Haku, plus it was obvious now. Kakashi had seen Zabuza and Haku die. He wouldn't be able to explain that other than telling everyone. He could only be happy that only Yugao and Kakashi didn't know. Mikoto, Kushina and Sasuke knew it, so it wouldn't be much of a pain. Naruto sighed and rubbed his head. Yeah, I'll be taking you all back to Uzumaki, so let's thank Tsunami-san for the food and get going, Naruto answered, making everyone glance at each other, but everyone nodded and quickly eat in silence, or rather what should have been, as everyone started talking with everyone else. With Kakashi and Yugao, the two Heineken members sealed two A-ranked shinobi into scrolls while they sheathed their swords. Yugao sighed and rubbed her head along with Kakashi. Tough one, Kakashi-senpai? Yugao asked, and Kakashi gave an eye smile with a slight nod before summoning Pakken to take the scroll to Tsunade. By this time, the team had already had more than enough money to pay for the repairs of Uzumaki as a whole, but individually they still had to manage their own funds. I would believe so, but let's head back to Uzumaki. It wouldn't do good if Naruto and Sasuke return and we're not there to greet them, right? Kakashi asked, and Yugao nodded as they were about to shunshin out of sight before they saw an Umbu appear from behind the trees. Kakashi Hatake, Yugao Yuzuki, he said, coming to them, making Kakashi and Yugao narrow their eyes, but they greeted the Umbu. Yo Bird, what are you doing all the way out here? Kakashi asked, and Bird simply rummaged around in his pockets and pulled out a scroll. Hokage-sama wants all the members of Heineken to come back to Konoha, especially Mikoto-sama, Bird said before he quickly left, and Kakashi turned to Yugao, who shrugged her shoulders. No rest for the weary senpai, she said, and Kakashi gave an eye smile with a nod as they hopped to the trees and left. With Kushina and Mikoto, the progress of Uzumaki was coming along magnificently as the buildings began to lose their ruin-like structure and started to look complete once again. Kushina and Mikoto smiled at the accomplishment, but Mikoto couldn't figure out what would make Kushina so happy. The female Uzumaki obviously had a lover, but Mikoto wasn't sure for all her life. She'd try not to go as far as Naruto, but she was running low on ideas, and while she didn't want to say it verbally, but the idea of something immoral happening between Kushina and her son kind of irked Mikoto lightly. I said it's nothing, Mikoto, Kushina said, walking through the streets, and Mikoto sighed before a poof came, making the females look down at an orange toad. Yo, you Kushina Uzumaki, the toad asked, and Kushina knelt down with a nod. That's right, she said, and the toad dropped the scroll from his webbed hands and gave her a salute. From the blonde guy. Be seein' ya around, the toad said, and left easily while Kushina picked up the note. She quickly opened it and looked it up and down along with Mikoto. To Ka-chan, hey Ka-chan, Sasuke and I are coming back to Uzumaki. We'll be there before nighttime hits. We decided to go back and pick up some supplies that we missed. It'll be good to see you again. Also be prepared for the shock of a lifetime with who I'm bringing with me. Also please gather the others, I think I'm gonna tell them tonight. Naruto Uzumaki, Kushina looked down and narrowed her eyes. He would tell them now? Well, it would be good to stop all the secrecy, but Mikoto knew it also. The blonde was planning to tell Yugao and Kakashi about his extra summon. Oh boy, would this make the night interesting. Sochi, Kushina said, and furled the scroll before turning around. Come on, Mikoto. It's time for us to open the main house and we'll tidy the place up. Something tells me that we're in for a long time of questions and answers, Kushina said, and Mikoto nodded as they walked off. A little later. Naruto and the others, all right, we'll see you later, Tsunami-san. Thanks for the breakfast, Naruto said, making Tsunami nod as she waved goodbye to Naruto and his friends. They all waved goodbye and walked away from the house while Yuri wrapped her arms around Naruto's arms. Yuri, don't bother Nisama so much, Yura scolded, and Yuri responded with a stick of her tongue at her sister. No way, Wani-chan. I'm going to hang around the brother that I've always wanted, Yuri said, pushing her rather medium assets on Naruto's hand, making the blonde blush while Sasuke snorted. Haku and Zabuza sighed while Yura grew a tick mark on her head. Why, you ungrateful little dash, she said, and Yuri snickered while taking Yura's hand. Ah, I love you too, Wani-chan. Don't be mad, she said, and Naruto chuckled while Yura sighed and merely nodded her head at her little sister as they all came to a small boat. The entire coast wasn't clean of people and someone allowed them to go and take his boat, to which Naruto expressed his gratitude. So Naruto-san, what type of place is Uzumaki? Haku asked while Naruto and Zabuza raised the sails. Yura and Yuri unloaded the things and Sasuke released the anchor. It's not bad, Haku-chan. Honestly, it is still being rebuilt, but I'd like to say that when it's done it will be a lot better than it looks right now. You'll see in a few hours, Naruto told her, and Haku nodded her head while they all sailed off. 3 or 4 hours later, Naruto was sleeping and on his lap was Yuri while they were all waiting. Zabuza was steering the ship as were Naruto's instructions. Haku seemed to be talking with Yura while Sasuke opened a scroll and looked it over from his mother's kenjutsu. She had called it Uchiha no Hanran, Uchiha Rebellion, Kenjutsu. Sasuke had asked her about the name and Mikoto had spoken that it was about Uchiha rising above what most expected of them. She seemed to think that the name fitted most of the clan who were treated unfairly by the rest for their inability to produce a good Sharingan. Mikoto had gained hers, but she still did it anyway. Oi Haku, wake up the gaki. I see the whirlpools, Zabuza said, and Haku nodded as she motioned for Naruto. The blonde groaned and opened a tired eye while Haku smiled. We're waiting for you, Naruto-san, Haku said, and the blonde turned to see the ravaging swirls of water and jumped to his feet. He quickly bit his thumb and traced the blood over a piece of paper, drawing a seal while Yuri opened her eyes. She leaned up to see Naruto writing on the paper and allowed the blonde to get up and head to the front of the ship. He quickly jumped on the water and slammed it with the seal. Yuzu no Fuin, Shotatsu, whirlpool seal, collision. Naruto yelled like his mother and the water collided, breaking apart the swirls of water, allowing them to pass while Naruto urged Zabuza to move. Hurry, this isn't going to hold for long, Naruto told him, and Zabuza nodded as he turned the steer and moved the ship. Naruto hopped back on and rested on the ship. It wasn't long before they all hit the island and Naruto jumped off. Yura gazed at the island and gasped. "So this is our home, huh?" she asked as she jumped down also, and Yuri followed, landing in Naruto's arms while the blonde placed her down. Haku, Sasuke, and Zabuza dropped also as Naruto guided everyone through the forest. Yura and Yuri gasped left and right at the sounds of animals and the lush forest with the setting sun. Zabuza and Haku looked around staring and found the dense forest a little comforting, but they didn't know why. Yuri. "Welcome home," Naruto said to the village gates as they peered inside. Yura heard the various sounds of people working and construction reigned in the streets. The buildings looked so amazing to her and Yuri. "Wow. Nisan, this is amazing," Yuri said, and Naruto chuckled with a nod before they saw two figures in the distance. Naruto narrowed his eyes into a smile while the two female beings came into view. "Welcome back so soon, Sochi," Kushina said, and Naruto rubbed the back of his head with a nod while Mikoto greeted Sasuke. "Hey Ka-chan, sorry for coming back so early. Sasuke and I needed some things and had to come back. We still managed to secure some money if you want to know. Also have a look at these two," Naruto said, and Kushina turned to Yura and Yuri. The two glazed at the female Uzumaki matriarch, if that's how it was, before Naruto patted Kushina's shoulders. "Ka-chan, they are Uzumaki. Just like you and me," Naruto told her, making Kushina widen her eyes. She stared at Yura and Yuri like they were her own children. Yura smiled and Yuri waved. "Nice to meet you, Kushina Uzumaki. I'm Yura Uzumaki and this is my sister Yuri Uzumaki," Yura spoke, and Kushina nodded fast before she turned to them. "Who are your parents?" she asked eagerly, and Yura raised an eyebrow before answering. "They were Toru Uzumaki and Kira Fukyun," Yura spoke, and Kushina smiled as she grabbed Yura and Yuri into a fierce hug. "One of my best friends. Toru Uzumaki, my cousin," Kushina said with a few tears while Yura and Yuri returned the hug. Everyone smiled at the moment before Kushina and the two girls separated while Kushina stood to her feet. "How, Sochi? How did you find them?" Kushina asked, and before long the smile on Naruto and Yura's face faded into a glare and frown. Kushina seemed confused while Naruto spoke about how he even managed to find the two of his relatives, and needless to say, but Kushina wasn't pleased. Not in the least. "I see," she said, trying to hide the growing frustration in her eyes, but she calmed when Naruto gave her a thumbs up that he had ended the deal, and seeing Yura along with Yuri smile. "It was thanks to Nisama that we could meet you. We hold no regrets," Yura said, and Yuri grabbed Naruto's hand. "He really helped us out." "Don't be mad, Kushina-san," Yuri spoke, and Kushina nodded her head before turning to see Haku and Zabuza. The only reason she knew it was them was because of Naruto's description of them that he told her back in Wave. "Haku and Zabuza, I presume?" she asked while Mikoto stared at the two nin. Haku bowed and Zabuza merely huffed a bit of annoyance. "What of it?" Zabuza asked before he received a nudge in his gut from his daughter. Haku merely smiled more and shook Kushina's hand while Naruto looked around. "Where are Kakashi and Yugao-san?" the blonde asked, and it was Mikoto's turn to speak. "They went to earn some money for the construction with the bingo book. Who knows when they will be back," Mikoto said, and Naruto sighed with a nod as he turned to Kushina. "Ka-san, I'll explain everything when Kakashi and Yugao arrive. I promise, but mind Sasuke and I unpacking? Naruto asked and Kushina nodded, sending the two away to get settled inside while she turned back to Yura and Yuri. Alright, you two will be coming with me. Mikoto, for now, set Hakusan and Zabuza up in one of the houses. We'll wait for Sochi's explanation and then we'll all decide what to do with them. Kushina spoke and Mikoto nodded as Haku and Zabuza followed her and Sasuke to the other houses that were finished, for the most part. Back in Konoha, Hyuga compound, Hayashi was currently bowing to Hizashi for all it was worth while they were alone. He still felt all the guilt from the past rushing back to him from the Kumo while Hizashi sighed. Brother, I said it was fine, Hizashi said with a rare smile and Hayashi grabbed his shoulders. I still can't help but feel guilty. You shouldn't have had to die for something that I had done. Because of me, Niji became like he was when he was younger. I'm sorry, Hayashi said and Hizashi closed his eyes and folded his arms. He's grown into an astounding young man. I'm glad, and we both have Naruto Uzumaki to thank for that, Hizashi said while Hayashi slightly widened his eyes and moved back to a more formal sitting position. Yes, Naruto-san has done so much for me that I can never repay except with my silence until he announces his ownership of the Shinigami contract. Because of him I have Hinako and Niji has you, Hayashi said, making Hizashi nod. He looked out the window to see Hinako teaching Hinata and Hanabi a few Juken stances that weren't put into the scrolls before her death. He smiled at the sight before looking to see Niji with his arms folded waiting for his father to spar with him in turn. Hizashi sighed and stood to his feet. I'm very grateful to Naruto-san. He's done more for this clan than even the Hokage has. I've guaranteed my word of silence as well. I can't understand his position, but I know why he feels anxious. Imagine so many people's surprise when the blonde holds the power to revive the dead. They would overwhelm him with admiration, recognition, but also grief and regrets about their loved ones. I'm sure he doesn't want anyone to try and take advantage of his kindness. Imagine if he also refuses them, it would cause a massive riot. His burden is very heavy. More than it was before, Hizashi said, and Hayashi knew full well what his brother was talking about since he spoke with Naruto as well. It wasn't just that. If world like this moved to the other nations, then it would be chaos. Naruto-san, remain strong, as I fear that sometime you will need more help than you realize, Hayashi said in his thoughts. With Sakura, the pink-haired Kunoichi sighed as she finished a mission with her teammates Sai and Yamato. It just wasn't the same as being with Naruto. He could make her laugh and Sai was always taking about people's privates, but it was funny when it was done to other people. She still had yet to see Naruto, Sasuke or Kakashi. The loss of those three was rather extreme. Naruto, Sasuke-kun, what are you guys doing right now? Sakura asked herself while looking up at the sky before she parted from Sai and Yamato. They had tried to find a lead on something about a moving castle, but saw nothing of the sort. As if something like that would exist. Yeah, right, Sakura said with a chuckle and walked to attend to the medical facilities. Sakura walked inside and sighed while she noticed Ino with a notepad. What's up, forehead? Ino asked and Sakura merely shrugged. Not seeing Naruto's goofy smile or Sasuke at all is rather boring. I'm just tired, Sakura said, and Ino sighed as she patted Sakura's back. Come on, Sakura. They're fulfilling their dreams. Naruto brought Sasuke back just like he promised. Granted, he's still an ass at times, but he's never looked happier. At least from the last time I saw him. You'll see them again, I'm sure. Someone has to keep those two in line, Ino said, trying to lift Sakura's spirits, and the pink-haired Kunoichi merely smiled with a nod as she straightened up. You're right, Ino. I've got to do what I can and get back to work. Thanks, she said, and Ino huffed and walked away. Whatever, forehead. Just stop brooding, Ino said, and Sakura laughed as she went to go and get some things done. With Tsunade, the Godame Hokage was currently rummaging through the mission room looking for any sign of missions that would be given to either Hinako or Mikoto, but she saw nothing. She knew that some missions weren't catalogued because of the importance, but could something be so important that Sarutobi had to say that Hinako and Mikoto died for them to complete their mission? Then there was Hisashi. He just suddenly appeared and said that Mikoto could vouch for him. None of it was making sense. All these people that Sarutobi said had died were just coming back, and the village was starting to think that it was having so many blessings from the Shinigami that this was insane to believe. People even started hoping that their loved ones would come back. It was staggering to Tsunade, and she hoped that Mikoto would be able to shed any type of light on the situation. Where is it? Where is it? She wondered, looking through a cabinet before an umbu opened the door. Tsunade-sama, I have delivered the message to Kakashi and Yugao. They will make sure to hand it to Mikoto-sama and everyone will return back. Will that be all? The umbu asked, and Tsunade glared at him, making him gulp. It wasn't his fault. She was having a breakdown from no sake, but if she drank any more then more shit would be a headache, and she didn't want that. Yes, that will be all. Good work, Tsunade said, and the umbu quickly left the room while Tsunade sighed. This is just great. Bore, get your ass in here. Tsunade yelled, and another umbu came under her tone. Yes, Tsunade-sama, he asked, and Tsunade turned around before glaring at him. Have you found Danzo at all? She asked, and Bore shook his head. No, Tsunade-sama, but we're working on it. The village wonders about his disappearance, but no one is really asking questions. Isn't this Heineken's assignment? He asked, and Tsunade continued to rummage through the files. It was, but I took them off for a bit. Having them grow as a team will more than make up for that in the long run. Now then, summon the damn council. I need to speak with them, Tsunade said, and Bore shunshined out of the room while Tsunade dropped to the ground before she heard struggling. She turned around to see Konohamaru walking while Moegi and Udon were grabbing him, trying to hold him back. Hey old lady, where is Nisan? He's been gone for days. He said he's teach me a cool jutsu, Konohamaru said, and Tsunade growled at the disrespect, but seeing Naruto in Konohamaru she settled down. Ah, sorry Tsunade-sama. We tried to stop him, but Moegi replied, and the blonde Hokage groaned. She walked up to Konohamaru and glared at him. Oh? And what are you going to do if I don't tell you? She asked, and Konohamaru growled. I'll tell the council that you used some of the funds to pay off your debts, he said before Tsunade bopped him on the head. You wish, brat, but Naruto isn't in the village. He'll be here in 2 or 3 days, since I sent a letter for him and his team back here. So calm down, got it? She asked, and Konohamaru's mood instantly changed as he ran back with Udon and Moegi following him. Damn eager brat, Tsunade said before she walked off, seeing as how Konohamaru made her lose her train of thought for the moment. Somewhere in the middle of fuck it, Akatsuki base, the 9 members of Akatsuki came together and formed around the Nibi Jinchuriki. They were busy sealing away her chakra along with the life force of her body. Her name was Yujito Ni, and she was rapidly dying. Itachi, Kisame, what is the word on the Kyubi Jinchuriki? Pain asked while everyone continued. We have no information on his whereabouts currently. We will continue to track him when we can, Itachi said, and Kisame snickered. That brat won't get away from us again, Kisame said, and Haiden sighed. Yeah, right. I beat Kakuzu and I could take care of him. Faster than any of you, he spoke, and Kisame grew a tick mark on his head while turning around. Oh yeah? Then do it. I don't really give a flying fuck about it, you cultist. What do you say, Itachi? Kisame asked, and Itachi closed his eyes. I don't really care. Do what you want, Itachi said, and Kakazu smirked. I intend to. You don't have to worry about that, he said, and everyone looked to Pain for acknowledgement, and he merely nodded his head and allowed Haiden and Kakazu to do what they wanted. Where was he last spotted? Haiden asked and Kisame snickered. Figure it out, asshole, he said, and Haiden growled while Deidara sighed. Oh, shut up already, he said while Toby laughed. Oh boy, senpai is pissed, but Toby didn't do it. Toby knows when to be serious, the masked Akatsuki member said, and Deidara growled. Then be serious now, he said while Toby sighed. It matters not. Haiden and Kakuzu will go after the Kyubi Jinchuriki. Go to Konoha if you need a lead, but be careful and don't mess up. Now let's finish this up, Pain said, and everyone agreed as they extracted the Nibi from Yujito-ni, but the Nibi Jinchuriki didn't know that she would get her turn at them again. She definitely would, as would the other Jinchuriki taken by Akatsuki. Somewhere near Hai no Kuni's fire temple 4 members were currently hiding away from the trees while one of them, obviously female, rubbed the base of her leg. The small seal that had appeared on her those weeks ago was still a bit antagonizing. She sighed and brushed her hair while she leaned against a tree. You alright? Fuin asked her, and Fuka merely smiled and nodded. Yeah, I'm fine. Just wondered about that pain that hit me a while ago, she said, and Fuin merely nodded absently while Fudo chuckled as he looked at her pain. Maybe the last person you took had AIDS. Do you think? Fudo asked, and Fuka glared at him hard before she kicked him into a tree. No, I think I'm fine enough. Besides, you should watch your mouth around a lady, she said, and Fudo merely rolled his eyes before they all saw a man come out of the shadows. Humph, don't worry about that. Now, is everything ready? He asked, and everyone bowed with nods. You got it, Furito, Fudo said, and Furito nodded his head. Good, then what is our goal? He asked, and they all smirked. Overthrow Konoha and the Hokage, they said, and Furito nodded his head fast as they all went into action. Nighttime, Yuzushiogakure, Naruto, Yura and Yuri were sitting with the others having their dinner before they all heard a knock on the door. Kushina raised an eyebrow and yelled. It's open, she said, and the door slid open to reveal Kakashi and Yugao. The two came in and Kakashi gave an eye smile. We're back, dash. He paused and narrowed his eyes only to go into shock when he saw Zabuza at the table. Kakashi quickly grabbed his father's sword and charged at the missed Nin. Zabuza watched him come before Naruto jumped up and grabbed Kakashi's hand at the hilt of his sword before he completely drew it. Kakashi narrowed his eye at Naruto, and the blonde's glare told him to ease off the sword. Kakashi did so, and Naruto removed his hand while Kushina stood to her feet. Kakashi, no fighting during dinner. Sochi said he would explain everything, so sit with us, Kushina said, and Kakashi narrowed his eye while Yugao followed, not seeing the big deal, but for Kakashi it was bigger than it should have been. Dinner was rather tense as everyone was eating slowly. It had to end sometime though, so everyone was finished and Naruto asked for them to gather around the room. Yura and Yuri decided to leave them alone, but Naruto told them to stay since he could trust them and they were family. It took a bit of time, but everyone sat down and waited for Naruto to gather his thoughts. See, you're lucky. You don't have to deal with this, Naruto said, and Kyubi cackled while his tails thrashed around the entire room of the mindscape. Say what you want, but you're telling this story and make it good. This popcorn won't do well by itself, Kyubi said, and Naruto lightly grumbled before turning his attention back to everyone. The 3 couches that formed around the coffee table were all seated with Kushina, Mikoto, Yura, Yuri, Sasuke, Haku, Zabuza, Kakashi and Yugao. Alright Sochi, we're all here, so what is it that you want to tell them? Kushina asked while she, Mikoto and Sasuke knew what he was going to say. Same with Haku and Zabuza, but they let him talk while Naruto nodded. Alright, then. Ahem, Kakashi, Yugao-san, I'm sorry, but I've kept a secret from you both when I joined this team, Naruto told them, making Kakashi widen his eyes and Yugao do the same, but they let him talk. Yura and Yuri glanced at each other wondering how the blonde could lie, but didn't say anything. So Naruto unfastened the top half of his black shinobi shirt and placed it on the table. Then came the mesh armor he was wearing, making Yura and Yuri blush from the blonde's toned body. It was so fit from Kushina training as it made them blush wildly. Enni-san, Yuri said in her thoughts, and while Yura tried not to look interested, she still blushed at seeing such a fit body. Enni-sama, she spoke, but upon closer inspection everyone gasped as they saw the black seal on Naruto's hand, as two black lines went up his shoulder and went throughout his chest. The seal lines went down his sides and rested near his seal for the kyubi. Naruto, what is that? Yugao asked, never having seen such intricate sealing in her life. Kushina had a vague idea, but her being Naruto's valve of spiritual power, she had some of the same things on her body, not that she'd show it. Sasuke, Mikoto, and Kakashi activated their Sharingans and looked at Naruto's chakra. Tell me what you see, Naruto said, and Kakashi decided to speak. Something white. It's not chakra, but it's so clear. It's flowing from the seals throughout your body and into your chakra coils. Also, it looks like your chakra is dying. Like it's being eliminated, Kakashi said, and Naruto nodded as he asked them to deactivate the Sharingans, to which all three did, and Naruto touched the seal on his hand. Kakashi, Yugao-san. On this hand, I hold the summoning contract with the Shinigami, Naruto said, and if seeing Zabuza alive shocked him, then Kakashi was blown away along with Yugao. Yura and Yuri widened their eyes to Naruto's words, finding them hard to believe. Mikoto and Kushina glanced at each other while Sasuke remained quiet. Haku and Zabuza tried to gauge reactions before Yugao spoke. Naruto-san, I'm afraid that I can't believe something so outrageous without proof. I know that, and I'm going to begin, Naruto said, making Kakashi and Yugao pay attention. The blonde huffed and decided to begin. Kakashi, you remember back to when you found me unconscious at Final Valley? Naruto asked, and Kakashi nodded. He remembered racing through the forest with Naruto on his back while Sasuke showed bits of remorse, but Naruto continued. In all truth, Kakashi, I should have died before you made it back to Konoha, Naruto told him, and Kakashi widened his eyes, as did Sasuke. Shinigami came for my soul in that time. He tried to stab me with his sword, but I somehow dodged it. Shin was stumped as to how it happened, since it never happened. He told me it was time for me to die, but I yelled at him and told him that I'd die on my own terms and not before I accomplished my dream, Naruto said, making everyone gasp as they didn't know this. Who had the gall to be disrespectful to the Shinigami of all beings? Kushina lightly chuckled, as she would have been the same, and that laughter softened everyone, and Yuri wanted to ask something, but Yura told her to wait till Naruto was finished. Moving on, Shin and I traded barbs and words about my life. He said that everything dies eventually and it was my time, but I told him that I refused to die. I had too much to accomplish to die like that, and somehow he said that I was interesting. So he stabbed me with his sword, and instead of killing me like I thought he did, he poured his power into me and gave me this contract. I then passed out and ended up in the hospital, Naruto said, and everyone seemed to skeptical except the obvious people. Yura and Yuri seemed sad that Naruto was supposed to die, but they were confused as to the fact that he lived. I have found that I can summon him twice a day for anything that I want. He told me that being his summoner I could revive people. So long as I paid compensation, Naruto said, and Kakashi widened his eye before turning to Kushina and Mikoto. Then that means that Kushina and Mikoto nodded, showing Kakashi and Yugao that they were in on it as well. Sasuke glared and Yura stood to her feet. You killed people? All for that? Naruto, you're horrible, Yura shouted while Yuri grabbed her hand. Let him finish, One-chan. He saved us, remember? Nissan can't be bad. I just know it, Yuri said, and Yura looked at her little sister before sighing a nod and sat back down. Naruto thanked Yuri, making the red-haired girl smile with a nod, while Blonde continued. I made a vow. Jiraiya had always told me that there could be peace in the world. I used this contract on that belief. I only kill those who have deserved it, Naruto said directly towards Yura, making her widen her eyes. Kakashi and Yugao narrowed their own. What do you mean those who deserve it? Yugao asked and Naruto sighed. Those who take away. Those who hold no remorse for what they do and love to end lives all for the sake of their own. It's people like these that I kill. I never kill an innocent, as I know I couldn't look any of the people I revive in the eye if I did. And Kakashi, to answer your question then, yes. This is how I revive Gaara and not have Chiyoba-chan waste her life, Naruto said, and Kakashi nodded in understanding while Yugao stood to her feet. That still doesn't explain why you lied to Hokage-sama. That is a serious offense worthy of execution, Naruto-san, Yugao said, and Naruto snorted slightly while looking at the ground. It wouldn't matter, Naruto said, and Yugao widened her eyes as did everyone else. Why not? She asked rather angrily that one of her teammates would want to die so easily without fear of the consequences, and Naruto sighed. I can't die, he said, breaking everyone's stare who was looking at him. Yugao widened her eyes in shock while Kakashi did the same. You said everything dies, then why do you say that? She asked, and Naruto rubbed the back of his head. My contract with Shin makes it so that he will never take my soul, and in essence he won't take my life. Also Yugao-san, I do realize my actions. I like Bachan a lot and lying to her really hurts, but I was trying to be smart about it, Naruto said, which confused everyone, even Zabuza and Haku who were listening. Yura and Yuri seemed confused as well while Kakashi spoke. What do you mean, Naruto? Kakashi asked, wondering about this change in behavior from Naruto, while the blonde sighed for the umpteenth time. I mean that I thought about all the people I could help. I helped Hayashi-san and Hinata with their mother, Hinako. I helped Niji with his father. I helped Sasuke with his mother and me with mine. I wanted to help so many people who lost their people, but I wondered about what would happen. People would ask me for revivals all the time and I would end up killing more and more, which I didn't want. I was afraid that if I didn't fulfill their request then I would be deemed a traitor to Konoha for not helping when I could, Naruto said, making everyone nod in agreement. They could see the logic in his actions while Yugao spoke again. Tsunade-sama could make it an S-class secret. No one would talk about it, Yugao said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes while he balled his fists. The Kyuubi was a SS class secret. Me being its container was supposed to be a secret, but in less than a week the entire village knew about it and everyone hated me. How could I tell Bachan after something like that? Naruto asked, and Yugao held her head down in shame. She knew it also, along with Kakashi. Word had spread so fast around the village about Naruto that no one could control it. Of course Naruto would be cautious. Who the hell wouldn't? So I only let a few people know about it. Ka-chan knew, Mikoto-san knew, Hayashi-san, Hinako-san, Hizashi-san, and now I'm telling you all because I trust you, Naruto said, and Kushina tried to gauge everyone's reactions. Yuri seemed so amazed at Naruto for being so thoughtful about them to trust them this much, and Yura was looking regretful for her words. Sasuke looked calculative and Yugao the same. Kakashi looked lost in thought before Kushina stood to her feet. I wasn't happy with the news either. I didn't want Sochi to kill just for me, but I felt so thoughtful in a way. He is telling the truth. I was revived, Kushina said, making everyone slump. Here is my last ounce of proof, Naruto said, biting his thumb. He drew it over his seal. Yugao and Kakashi tensed, and so did Sasuke, while Naruto yelled. Kuchi-ose no jutsu, Naruto yelled, and his seal glowed brightly, blinding everyone for a bit. The light faded and everyone waited for a few minutes while Naruto turned his head. Shin, reveal yourself. It's alright, Naruto said to him, and everyone watched as out of nowhere the Shinigami came into view. His purple demon-like face, his white robes with the purple beads in one of his hands. His long purple arms and his steely gaze. Yugao widened her eyes to the truth while Kakashi seemed so shocked. Sasuke tried to remain impassive, but failed and lightly trembled under the ki. Strangely Yuri came up to the spirit and smiled. "He's so cute, Ni-san," she said, and Naruto's sweat dropped. "Cute?" the blonde asked, and hearing those words made people relax. They stared at him a little more freely and examined him. It was the honest-to-goodness Shinigami in all his deathness. "Uzumaki Naruto, why have you summoned me?" Shin asked, and the blonde turned around. "I need people to trust, and the best thing to do was to tell them like this." "Please don't be mad," Naruto said, and Shin folded his arms while Yuri tried to touch him, but her hand only went through him as she raised an eyebrow. Everyone gazed a little longer before Naruto allowed Shin to leave. The death god sighed and immediately left while Naruto bowed. "Please believe me," Naruto said, and the room was quiet again. Everyone stayed to their thoughts for a few minutes before Yugao folded her arms. "I can't say that I approve, Naruto-san, that you would keep it a secret from your team, but I can understand and I believe you." "Thank you for trusting me," Yugao said, and Naruto smiled while Kakashi stood up and turned around. "Well, sorry for the attack, Zabuza. Got a little startled," Kakashi said with an eye smile and rubbed the back of his head. Zabuza snorted and got to his feet. "Like you could do anything, Kakashi. You'd better be lucky that the brat is my superior, one who's in charge of another, or I'd really kick your ass," Zabuza said while Kakashi held up his hands in defense and chuckled. Soon the whole room was in laughter, and Naruto breathed a sigh of relief while he turned to Yura. "Still think I'm horrible?" he asked, and Yura got up before giving Naruto a hug. "I think you're horrible for not telling us." "I'm sorry for saying that, but if you don't mind, please put your shirt back on," Yura said, staring at the toned muscles in front of her with a light blush. Along with Yuri and Naruto chuckled lightly before putting his mesh shirt and black shirt back on. Everyone, having settled down now, sat down with Yuri holding Naruto's arm like normal while they all spoke. "So what do we do with Haku-san and Zabuza-san? Being revived by Naruto-san means what?" Yugao asked, and Naruto sighed. "I have a limited control over what they do. I can force them to do stuff, but their feelings will be there, so I'd rather not." "They'll listen to me," Naruto said, and Yugao nodded. "What do you say, Kushina Taishu?" Yugao asked, and Kushina turned to them. She placed a finger to her chin and smiled. "Simple, they will be our first recruits," she said, and everyone wondered what she meant. "Recruits? For what?" Yugao asked, and Kushina rubbed her hands together. It was an ingenious idea in her head, and boy was it an idea. "Don't worry. We'll discuss that tomorrow. Now, is there any more news?" Kushina asked, and Naruto pointed to Yura and Yuri. "Yeah, what to do with them," Naruto said, making everyone turn to them, but that fell to Naruto and Kushina since they were Uzumaki and this was their home. "Well, we'll train them, Sochi. In the ways of the Uzumaki. I've always wanted to," Kushina said, and Naruto nodded while Yuri smiled with a nod. Yura bowed with a show of thanks before Yugao took out a scroll. This also came from Konoha. "It's for Mikoto-san," Yugao said, and everyone watched as Mikoto took the scroll. She unfurled it and opened it. She glanced through it all and tensed before taking it down. "Tsunade requires our presence in 3 days. Something about it being a serious matter and, concerning Hizashi-san," Mikoto said, and everyone glanced at Naruto while the blonde narrowed his eyes. Well, knowing what we know, then it's likely that it's what Naruto's fearing, but what are we going to do?" Sasuke asked, and Kushina closed her eyes. "Well, I already lied for Sochi-kun and I don't mind doing it again. Mikoto has done the same also," Kushina said, and Yugao along with Kakashi tensed. "But we'll save this for later. Right now we're all tired and we'll get some sleep. The other workers are resting, so we should do the same." "Everyone dismissed," Kushina said, and everyone walked off. Zabuza and Haku went to their temporary house of dwelling while Yura and Yuri took up residence in a dormant room for them both. Sasuke and Mikoto turned in along with Kakashi and Yugao. Kushina and Naruto turned out the lights while the former turned to her son. "Don't worry Sochi, you're a valued member of Heineken. You can always trust us," Kushina said, and Naruto smiled with a nod as they all turned in for the night. Next morning, Lime Kushina hummed across the sink washing dishes. It was almost time for everyone to gather and train. Kushina had set up a schedule where everyone would train with each other in ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu and kenjutsu for each other. It worked for everyone and no one complained. Currently the others were still sleeping in their rooms, well, almost everyone. Naruto yawned and walked into the living room. He had never felt so refreshed from talking like last night. It felt good to get that weight off his shoulders and trust some more people. The blonde glanced at his mother humming a quiet tone over the sink and he couldn't resist the urge grin. He got a gleam in his eye as he silently walked behind her. "Don't even think about it," Kushina said, and Naruto pouted before he went anyway and kissed his mother on the cheek. "Saw through me, Dadabayo?" Naruto asked, and Kushina snickered before she flickered some water on him. "Too easy," she said, and Naruto quickly grabbed her into a hug. "Thank you, Ka-chan. I don't think they would have believed me without you," Naruto said, and Kushina waved him off. "It was nothing," she said, ending in a surprised tone as Naruto rubbed his mother's shoulders. Kushina shuddered and the blonde smiled. "Let me thank you," he said to his mother, and Kushina gulped while she shook her head. "No Sochi. I have to do the dishes," she said, and Naruto smirked as he moved his hand to his mother's breast and squeezed it while Kushina placed her hands over the counter. Kushina felt her legs go out while Naruto continued to rub his mother's soft mounds. Naruto," Kushina said with a lustful shudder as Naruto kissed her neck. He trailed his tongue down her body and Kushina gulped at her son's assertiveness while Naruto pinched her nipples. "Like that, Ka-chan?" Naruto asked, and Kushina felt her throat dry. She sighed blissfully as she was reminded back to Naruto touching her in wave. It had made her so good that it was amazing. Naruto continued to trail down and lifted his mother's black Heineken shirt, showing her lovely, flat stomach and her red-laced bra under her mesh shirt. "Ka-chan, you were waiting, weren't you?" Naruto asked, and Kushina blushed and shook her head. "Of course not," she said, and Naruto chuckled as he kissed her stomach sensually before he moved his arms around her pants and pulled them down. Kushina gasped as she was thankful that the counter was high enough to not show the scene unfolding while she tried her best to wash the dishes. "I love everything about Ka-chan," Naruto said as he rubbed her thighs, and Kushina sighed before Naruto watched her spot slightly dripping. He licked his lips and quickly attacked Kushina's honeycomb, nearly bringing Kushina to the floor. "Sochi, wait until I finish the dishes," Kushina said, jumping from the pleasure again while Naruto smirked. "No waiting, Ka-chan," Naruto told her, and Kushina groaned and bit her lower lip to control the moans coming from her lips. Naruto smirked before he took his tongue and pushed it inside, getting all the spots of his mother while Kushina gulped and panted. Her face was flushed from the pleasure before she heard a voice. "Good morning, Kushina," Mikoto said, shocking Kushina as she stared wide-eyed. Naruto heard Mikoto and stopped for a second and wondered what he should do. Kushina sighed and tried her best smile. "Gee, good morning, Mikoto. Breakfast will be ready soon," Kushina said with that same smile before she jumped and grabbed the counter. "Sochi, you're so cold," Kushina said as Naruto quickly moved faster with his tongue and fingers while Kushina panted. "It was some weird stuff yesterday, right?" Mikoto asked, and Kushina nodded with a hesitant chuckle and a light shiver. "Why yeah, but Sochi really did a good job. He's growing up." I can't stand this," Kushina said, keeping that part to herself while Mikoto snickered. "Both our boys are growing up. Just like we wanted." "Say, what's wrong? Do you have a fever?" Mikoto asked, and Kushina shook her head. No. Just tired from the tea twisting and turning of the bed last night. Couldn't get much sleep," she said, and Mikoto nodded her head knowing the feeling, but for a totally different reason. I don't see Naruto-kun, Mikoto said, and Kushina moaned blissfully and silently while answering. I'm sure he's around. He might be eating something. Why not wake up the others? I'll go get Naruto-kun just as soon as I'm done. I'll be coming soon. Very very soon, Kushina said, and Naruto continued to lap and eat away at his mother while Mikoto stood up. Yeah, I suppose. Alright, I'll see you in a bit, Mikoto said, walking off, and Kushina waved while Mikoto's image vanished. Kushina grabbed her son's blonde hair and pushed him in further. Sochi-kun. Kushina yelled as she came inside Naruto's mouth, with the blonde drinking all the sweet nectar he could take before he watched his mother slump to the floor. Delicious Ka-chan, Naruto told her, and Kushina huffed before she jabbed Naruto in the arm. Don't do that again, Databane, she said, and Naruto chuckled before he quickly kissed Kushina, allowing her to taste herself in his lips, but she ignored it for the sweet kiss while Naruto parted, allowing a trail of saliva to connect them. Couldn't resist, Ka-chan. You look so beautiful, flustered, Naruto told her, and Kushina lowly growled with a blush across her face as she got to her feet. Later, Lima and Naruto and Kushina were standing in front of Yura and Yuri as the two were currently working on their taijutsu before Kakashi called for Naruto. Naruto, I have to make a request, Kakashi said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow before sighing. Great. Who do you want me to revive? Naruto asked, but Kakashi shook his head, confusing Naruto, making the blonde raise an eyebrow. Don't revive him, but I want to see him. Obito Uchiha. Please, I just want to speak with for a bit, Kakashi said, and Naruto seemed confused. Well, I don't know, but okay, Naruto said and summoned Shin. The death god appeared before Naruto and Kakashi. Shin, can you bring back Obito Uchiha? Teammate of Kakashi Hatake in Team Minato, Naruto said, and Kakashi widened his visible eye while Naruto smiled. The Shinigami closed his eyes and folded his arms. No, he said, and Naruto widened his eyes while turning around. Even Kakashi was confused. Why not? Naruto asked as he wondered if there was a problem while the Shinigami spoke. I can't bring him back because Obito Uchiha is not dead, Shin said, and the look of shock appeared on Naruto and Kakashi's face. What? Kakashi asked, and Shin sighed at having to repeat himself. Like I said. I can't revive what is already alive. Obito Uchiha is alive, Shin said with an extra long scowl before vanishing, and Kakashi gasped. He's alive? Obito's alive? Kakashi asked, not understanding, but he would come to understand just what Shin was saying in the near future. Heineken Training Ground. Mikoto, Kushina, Naruto, Sasuke, Yugao and Kakashi were all sitting in a circle near the house as the last of the members seemed to be in deep thought. Kakashi didn't know what to believe about this. The Shinigami had just told him that Obito was alive. It couldn't be. He had seen his friend get crushed by that large boulder while they rescued Rin. It just didn't make any sense about how he survived it. He had said that half of his body had been crushed. Who walks away from that? Alright, on Tsunade's request we will all return to Konoha and see what Mikoto can tell her. I'm sure she'll want answers for it, but we don't even know what Hizashi said to Tsunade, much less what he thinks, Kushina said, rubbing her soft red hair while everyone else nodded. I'll admit that I spent some time talking with Hizashi Hyuga, but I didn't think he'd reference me about it, Mikoto answered back, and Naruto slumped. I'm sorry guys, but maybe it's time that I just told Bachan. It's like Yuga-chan said. She might make it a secret. I don't want anyone getting into trouble over what I started, Naruto said, and everyone glanced at him before Sasuke smirked. She did say that we answer to no one that one time, remember, he slightly joked, and that easily got a laugh out of some of them. Sasuke has a point, Kushina giggled along with Mikoto and Naruto. Yugao merely snickered and Kakashi gave an eye smile. But I don't think that meant to keep things from her. Even this. Sochi, are you sure you can tell her? Kushina asked and Naruto gave a very hesitant nod while everyone couldn't even imagine the pressure being put on him. Just lying to the Hokage was worthy of execution, but as Naruto claimed he couldn't die, that didn't mean that other methods couldn't be used. I'm sure Ka-chan. Come on, let's get going, Naruto said, standing to his feet and walking off. Everyone glanced at Kushina, who nodded, and they decided to get ready to go. With Naruto, the blonde could still hear the sounds of construction going on in Uzumaki, and it was beginning to take shape as it was nothing like seeing it for the first time. Naruto sighed and rubbed the back of his head. What do you think Bachan will do to me? Naruto asked, and Kyubi yawned before rubbing his head. At worst she'll send you flying right back towards this island, but I doubt she'll kill you. Or even attempt to. Don't sell her short, brat. Not that I'm one to care about such things, Kyubi said, and Naruto couldn't help but agree as he turned his head and smiled, seeing Yura teaching Yuri the basics for a Suiton jutsu. The blonde decided to pop by before leaving. Working hard you too? Naruto asked, making Yura turn to the blonde. Yuri gave a smile while wiping some sweat off her face. Of course we are Nisama. I'm not gonna have Yuri slack on her training, Yura said, and Naruto chuckled with a nod while Yuri walked up to him and grabbed his hand. She gazed at it, mainly the seal, and smiled. I'm gonna work hard, Ni-san. So that you won't be sad about using that contract. We don't hate you. Right, Ne-chan? Yuri asked, and Naruto stared at Yura, who was slightly blushing while coughing lightly. At least you're using it right. I also heard from Kushina-san. You six are going back to Konoha, aren't you? Yura asked, and Naruto nodded while his smile lessened, and both girls took notice, but didn't say anything. That's right. I'll be gone for a few days. Don't worry, I'll be back for you both, Naruto said, quickly wrapping his arms around Yuri in a hug, making the two widen their eyes. Yuri soon returned the hug, and Naruto smiled before turning to Yura. Room for one more? He asked, and Yura's blush deepened a little more before she huffed and turned around. You'll be back. I know that much, Baka Ni-sama, Yura muttered to herself before ordering Yuri back to her proper position for more training as Naruto walked off. The blonde sighed again before he turned to his room and quickly packed some things. He wasn't sure just how much he would need, so he opted for the standard equipment. He looked over everything he needed and closed his eyes, feeling two presences behind him. You don't have to sneak up on me. Not that you could, Naruto said while Haku and Zabuza came up behind him. The former chuckled while the latter grumbled. Don't get all high and mighty, brat. If I didn't want you to, then you wouldn't have noticed me at all. Humph, why someone like you is my superior I don't know, Zabuza said before Haku gently nudged her surrogate father in the stomach. I see, well, I noticed you, and that's all there is to it. Nothing more, nothing less. Haku, Zabuza, while I'm gone, please watch over Yura and Yuri as well as the rest of Wave's people. Both girls need teachers, and while Yura is good, well, very good, she's still loose in some things. Can you do that? Naruto asked, and Zabuza snorted. I don't know which is the bigger insult, me taking orders from a brat or me being ordered to teach brats. Ugh, yeah, we can get it done, Zabuza said while Haku snickered. I believe also, Naruto-san. Leave everything to us while you go. We'll make sure to keep this place safe as well as train Yura and Yuri, Haku said, effectively making Naruto smile. Alright, thank you Haku-chan, and you too Zabuza. I'm going to go now, Naruto said, taking his clothes and walking out of the door. Haku and Zabuza glanced at each other while the former frowned. Did you notice Zabuza-sama? Haku asked, and the demon of the mist nodded his head. Yeah, something got him in a mood. He didn't look at either of us while we were talking. He must be afraid of something. Though I wouldn't know what, Zabuza said, and Haku sighed with a nod before they left as well. A little later all the members of Heineken appeared in front of the Uzumaki gates with Yura and Yuri waving goodbye to them. "Safe travels you guys," Yuri said, and everyone nodded their heads while Yura turned to Naruto. She walked up and soon poked him in the chest, making the blonde pay attention to her. "Be safe. Please, and don't do anything reckless that you don't need to," Yura said, and Naruto nodded his head with a soft smile. Everyone glanced at the two, and unknown to them all, Kushina grinned while putting a finger to her chin. So I'm not the only immoral person here, huh?" Kushina snickered to herself before they all shined out of sight to get going towards Konoha. In a place near Konoha, Sakura, Sai, and Yamato were currently sitting in the dark while going over some coordinates. It wouldn't be long before they would be able to find the location of the fire temple along with its priest. It was a recent mission given by Tsunade, but they were still quite a few days away from the spot of arrival. "How much long, Yamato-sensei?" Sakura asked, clearly impatient with the pace they were going at. Sai was easily doing his drawings like normal while sighing, and Yamato smiled before eating a piece of sushi for dinner. "Come on, Sakura. We'll be there soon. Or, should I force you to relax?" Yamato asked, making his face scary with a flashlight. Sakura gulped and backed away while rubbing the back of her head. "And no, that's fine. Hee damn that draconian method," she said with the last part to herself. Yamato merely smiled with a nod and leaned back while continuing to eat as Sai snickered. "Well, Sakura, I guess that unlike your breasts, then your brain must be growing to know that you should be scared of Yamato-sensei," Sai said, and Sakura growled before huffing her annoyance of Sai and his freakin' attitude. "I'm totally gonna punch that asshole when I get the chance." "Damn it," Sakura said to herself before going to rejoin her team under the campfire. Who knows how long it would be till they would get to the place. With Heineken, 3 days later, Naruto and the others were currently sleeping on the ground in Hai no Kuni. It would be tomorrow that they would return to Konoha in the afternoon, but they all decided to take a break and simply not rush to have Naruto tell Tsunade and allow him the time to gather his thoughts. Naruto opened his eyes and leaned up from a tree. He later yawned and stretched his arms before getting to his feet. Naruto walked off into the woods and sighed as he came into a clearing. Naruto raised an eyebrow before noticing a lonely stump in the middle of said field. The blonde sat down and looked at the moon. He found its presence spectacular before rubbing the back of his head. "Kyubi, do you think that there is any meaning in death?" Naruto asked, unexpected to the fox Bijou. Said Bijou glared open and looked at the moon through Naruto's vision. He might have been able to read the blonde's mind, but never his feelings. "That's one question that even I can't answer, brat. You're just going to have to come up with your own answer to that. It's not easy, I'll tell you that much," Kyubi said, offering some advice that it could, while Naruto merely nodded his head and sighed before he was broken from his stupor by a touch to his shoulder. "What are you doing out here, Dobe?" Sasuke asked, and Naruto turned his head to the Uchiha before shaking his head. "Just thinking about my meeting with Bachan. I wonder how she'll react to this," Naruto said, and Sasuke groaned before punching Naruto in the shoulder. "You'll deal with that when you get there. Don't be so down all the time. It's not, you got it?" Sasuke asked, and Naruto nodded his head with a grin and a nod before taking his sword into his hands. He watched it shimmer in the moonlight before throwing it up. Sasuke watched the sword twirl while Naruto held out his hand. "It cuts my arm off and Tsunade-bachan will try to execute me. It misses and Bachan forgives me," Naruto said while Sasuke watched the sword fall. Naruto closed his eyes and submitted to luck. The Uchiha narrowed his eyes as the sword swung around Naruto's arm, not touching it at all before it stuck to the ground. Naruto opened his eyes and smiled. "Pretty stupid, Dobe. It could have cut your arm off," Sasuke said, and Naruto picked up the sword and nodded his head. "Yeah, but it didn't, Dadabayo," Naruto said, and Sasuke sighed with a mere nod and sat down next to Naruto. "Hey Naruto. You've been going off on your own for the past few days. What have you been doing?" Sasuke asked, and Naruto suddenly grinned while turning to Sasuke. Wouldn't you like to know? Naruto asked, and Sasuke narrowed his eyes at the blonde Heineken member. Tell me or not. I don't really care. Was just curious is all, Sasuke said, and Naruto chuckled with a nod before his senses went to high alert, as did Sasuke's. The two narrowed their eyes and stood to their feet. Did you feel that, Sasuke? Naruto asked, and the Uchiha nodded his head. Before they quickly ran through the field. Naruto quickly jumped and avoided a fire kunai that exploded the stump next to them. Sasuke growled and flashed his Sharingan fast before turning his head to find someone, but it was too dark and it could have come from anywhere. Sasuke immediately took out his sword and scanned the area while Naruto did the same. Do you see anything, Sasuke? Naruto asked, keeping his guard up. The Uchiha shook his head quickly and Naruto growled before he noticed that the presence was gone. He looked down on the ground and saw a small paper tag. Naruto narrowed his eyes before he motioned for Sasuke. The Uchiha quickly walked over to the spot and knelt down next to Naruto. What is it? Sasuke asked, and Naruto held up the paper. Barrier seal. We're somewhere, Sasuke. Next to something important, Naruto said to him, and Sasuke folded his arms while looking around. That's right. The fire temple is near here, he said, and Naruto quickly nodded his head before placing the paper now. Come on. Let's investigate. We'll go and inform Ka-chan about our findings in a bit, Naruto said, and Sasuke agreed. The two kept walking for a bit before they came up to a weird stone in the middle of the plains. Naruto and Sasuke glanced at each other before they turned their heads to see a small opening. Naruto narrowed his eyes again before he fell through the hole and jumped to the ground. Naruto, you see anything? Sasuke asked, and Naruto shook his head. Not in the least, Sasuke. Hold on, Naruto said, taking out his sword, and before long his body glowed in the white fire illuminating the hallways. Naruto smiled in relief to finally see and motioned for Sasuke to join him. So the Uchiha did. He jumped down and joined his teammate in the halls. Naruto and Sasuke traversed the entire building, looking at all the old ruins that could be seen. It seems more like a cemetery of some sort. Naruto looked around the entire room along with Sasuke. Burial tomb? Naruto asked, and Sasuke looked around as well. He could see some residual traces of chakra, but nothing more. More than likely it is, but someone was here, Sasuke said, and Naruto could honestly agree before he stopped. Sasuke did the same and turned around to see Naruto closing his eyes. He could see the blonde channeling his Honshu to his eyes before opening them. Naruto glanced to the left and right and smiled. It was just as he thought. He could see a few souls lingering around the place. One seemed to be a woman, or what he could make out of her. The blonde walked up to her while in Sasuke's eyes he was moving up to the wall. Hey, Naruto called out to the spirit, but she didn't turn around. The blonde sighed and rubbed the back of his head. Hey, he yelled, making her turn around along with the other spirits in the room. Noisy brat, isn't it? Who's he calling? One of them asked while Naruto growled. I heard that, you damn soul. You want me to give you to Shin already? Naruto asked, and immediately the souls widened their eyes. He sees us? Then that's him. That's Shinigami-sama's summoner. It's Shiken-sama, one of them said, and Naruto's sweat dropped at the name, but he didn't have the time to care about it before he told the souls to line up. They all did without complaint, since Naruto was considered a legend to all the spirits once Shin had made the announcement of his progression. They were all to treat him with the utmost respect, since the blonde was the summoner of the dead. Listen up, do any of you know what this place is? Naruto asked, and all the souls looked at each other before turning back to the blonde. It's a burial tomb, Shiken-sama. One of the 4 burial tombs of the Fire Temple. It might not concern you, but we saw a person come in here and take the corpse. Naturally we can't do anything, so we thought we should inform you, the woman said, and Naruto growled before he nodded, and while thanking the spirits he sent them back to what they were doing. Grave robbers? Naruto wondered before he motioned for Sasuke to follow him. Naruto picked up his pace and quickly entered the burial chamber. He noticed the place where the body was supposed to go, but it was gone. Sasuke, there's been a grave robbery, Naruto said, and Sasuke narrowed his eyes. How can you be so sure? He asked, and Naruto rubbed a hand through his hair. I asked the spirits around here and they said that they saw someone carrying the body away. It might be the same person who attacked us earlier. We'll have to report this to Ka-chan and Ba-chan when we return, Naruto said, and Sasuke couldn't agree more before he placed his hand on the burial stone. He quickly showed his Sharingan again and looked over it. Naruto, there are traces of Doton elements here. This wasn't some rogue. This person knew what they were doing, Sasuke said, and Naruto growled. Well, we'll just have to stop them. If we see them, then return the body. Come on Sasuke, let's dash. Naruto paused as he turned around to see a teenager about his age from across the hall. He wore a blue shoulder-length, dull gray, hair cut with one lock over his face. He wore what appeared to be monk robes along with a tri-bladed death claw. Sasuke stared at him too, and the boy glared at them both. Die, he said, encasing his weapon in chakra. Naruto widened his eyes as he quickly pushed Sasuke out the way. Immediately the boy swung his weapon forward and Naruto was slammed into the wall by a gale of wind. Futon chakra? Naruto wondered before he dropped to the ground. He growled lowly while Sasuke took out his sword and pointed it at the stranger. You just made a big mistake. 1. You won't live to regret, Sasuke said, and before he got another smirk as the stranger's arm lit up with Futon chakra. Take this. Juhasho, beast wave palm, he yelled, making Naruto and Sasuke widen their eyes before they were both blasted out of the ceiling and into the air. The two Heineken members backflipped while the monk-looking boy jumped into the air. Naruto growled and quickly grabbed his sword also. Futon, Detapa, Naruto yelled, sending the heavy wind gust towards the stranger, knocking them into the plains. Naruto grinned like before, grabbed Sasuke's arm. He twirled the Uchiha around before he sent him spinning into the air. Sasuke did his hand signs while he continued to spin and shouted. Katan, Nagar no Jutsu, fire release, streaming line technique, Sasuke said, and the fires wrapped around his body before they were sent towards the stranger. The boy got up and backflipped away from the strike before he snickered. Naruto and Sasuke raised their eyebrows while he gazed at them. Repent. I'll give you 3 seconds, he said, grinning while Naruto and Sasuke glanced at each other. They narrowed their eyes before he sighed. Time's up. Now you die. Juhasho, he yelled, sending more wind blades towards Naruto and Sasuke. The Uchiha and Uzumaki duo glanced at each other again and nodded while Naruto took a breath of air and swirled his sword around. Yuzu no Fukushu, Henka Kaze no Jutsu, Whirlpool Revenge, Winds of Change technique, the blonde hollered, and immediately the winds of the plains picked up before him and the blonde sent them all rushing while Sasuke finished his own. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Sasuke shouted and sent the blazing fire into the winds, bringing a large fire over the field before it exploded. Sasuke and Naruto covered their eyes from the explosion and sighed. Why would a grave robber stay behind? Naruto asked, and Sasuke snorted. 'Cause he's too damn arrogant, but we remedied that, Sasuke said, and Naruto nodded his head before they heard another noise. Naruto narrowed his eyes before they saw the stranger appear. Not bad, but this is where it ends, he said, and Naruto chuckled with a nod. Yeah, for you, he said, making the stranger raise an eyebrow before he heard swirling. He looked to his left to see 2 Narutos holding a large Rasengan as they charged him down. Utama Rasengan, they both yelled before the boy used his blade claw and took a defensive pose. The 2 Narutos ran at him before the winds swirled around and slammed them while Naruto and Sasuke widened their eyes. Juha Repusho, beast-tearing gale palm, he yelled, and the two clones of Naruto gasped before they were sent flying from a large explosion, making them dispel. Wow, he's tough, Naruto said, and Sasuke couldn't help but agree before the boy raised his other arm. Naruto could feel the demonic power from it before there was a yell. Sora, stop, someone yelled. Naruto and Sasuke turned their heads and noticed. Monks along with Sakura and two people Naruto didn't know coming up close. The blonde and brunette duo withdrew their swords before Sakura widened her eyes. Sasuke-kun, Naruto, she yelled, waving to them both. The Uzumaki raised an eyebrow along with the Uchiha. Both sighed and rubbed the back of their heads, and everyone closed in on the situation. The older monk looked at Sora, who rubbed the back of his head and scratched his cheek. Chiraku-sama, you were right to be worried. The barrier was broken, the tomb was open, and I went to investigate. I found these two inside, Sora said, making Naruto and Sasuke fold their arms. Naruto would have retorted, but he tried to maintain an air of professionalism. We wandered into the field. We felt a presence attack us and took our action. We investigated the tomb as well. We thought he was the robber, Naruto said, and Chiraku nodded his head. You don't bear the Konoha headband, he said cautiously, and Naruto narrowed his eyes along with Sasuke. The two were about to say something before someone spoke. Heavy accusation, Chiraku. Especially to my son, Kushina said with her. Mikoto, Yugao and Kakashi dropped to the ground. Sora wondered who some of these people were while Chiraku widened his eyes. He gulped before he walked forward. Kushina-sama. Chiraku said, making Yamato, Sakura and Sai confused. Naruto grinned as he turned around. Ka-chan, how did you find us? Naruto asked, and Mikoto chuckled. With the loud explosions and that massive fire that we saw, it was easy. Next time stay with the group, Mikoto said, and Chiraku turned to Mikoto as well. Mikoto-sama also, he asked while the two ladies smiled to their friend. Yeah, they knew about Chiraku from when he was a lot younger. That aspiring monk that always trained hard. Nice to see you, Chiraku. Now then, what's the accusation against my son? Kushina asked, and Chiraku widened his eyes as he turned to Naruto. The blonde raised an eyebrow before gulping. Sora suspected him and the younger Uchiha of grave robbery. It's something very serious that's been happening to the fire temple, Chiraku said while Kushina narrowed her eyes. I see. Well, it sounds very serious, doesn't it? She asked, and Chiraku nodded his head while Yamato coughed. Kushina-san, might I ask what you're doing out here? Yamato asked while Kushina and Kakashi glanced at them. Sorry, Yamato-san, but I'm not gonna answer that right now. Chiraku, mind taking us to the fire temple? Kushina asked, and Chiraku immediately nodded, allowing Heineken to follow after him along with the Konoha shinobi. Chiraku-sama, one of the monks yelled, making everyone stop. He turned to them and they reported the news. Kitane-sama's corpse is gone. Without a doubt. We have no idea where it could have gone, the monk said, and Chiraku narrowed his eyes before lightly cursing. We must protect the other three. Make preparations immediately while I take them back to the fire temple. Chiraku said, and the other two nodded before moving while Sora and the elder monk guided the others to the fire temple. Hai no Kuni's fire temple. Naruto and the others took a long flight of stairs, but made it towards the top while Naruto and Sasuke stared in slight awe. They had never been to the fire temple before, but it seemed too amazing. Kushina-sama, Mikoto-sama, please head into the meeting room. I'll join you slowly, Chiraku said, and everyone nodded as they walked away. Naruto turned his eyes to see some of the elders talking with Chiraku, but before long he noticed them all glaring. He narrowed his eyes and watched them gaze hard at Sora. The blonde growled and balled his fists. He slowly stopped while others went ahead. He walked up to them as Sora walked off in a bad mood. Hey, he said to them, and everyone turned to the blonde to see the coldness of them, like they could only hope for death, but won't get it. Staring at someone is rude, Naruto told them all and looked at Sora before walking off. Unknown to him, Sora heard those words and widened his eyes before turning back to Naruto, who was already gone. Meeting room. Naruto opened the sliding door and noticed everyone sitting around. Sasuke was between his mother and Sakura, while Yugao, Kakashi and Yamato were sitting together. Sai was somewhat next to Kushina with an open spot next to her. "Naruto, where have you been?" "Take your seat," Sakura said in an almost annoyed tone while Naruto glanced at her. He wouldn't normally care about what she was saying, but he saw Kushina motioning for him to hurry, so the blonde did and sat next to her. He closed his eyes and folded his arms. "Ka-chan, where do you know this Chiriku guy from?" Naruto asked, and Kushina turned to Mikoto. It seemed that everyone wanted to know as well, so Kushina decided to indulge them a little. "I know him because when he was younger he came to Konoha. It was around the time that Minato had just started being the Hokage. I trained him only slightly in some techniques that he asked me to show him. It was always, when I grow up I'll become a great monk." "Mikoto, you trained him too, right?" Kushina asked, and Mikoto rubbed the back of her head. "A bit, I guess. He wanted help so I gave it to him," Mikoto said while Sakura gasped. "Naruto, Sasuke-kun, your mothers know some amazing people," Sakura said, and the two sons shrugged their shoulders at her words, not really caring either way. Soon the door opened and Chiriku came through and sat down on the mat. He coughed and straightened up. "While I'd like to reminisce, I still have to give information. I'm glad that Konoha was able to respond to our request so quickly. I must tell you that this is very dangerous. They have taken the corpse of Kitane-sama as we were told. He, along with the other tombs to the south, west and north, lie Sito, Nama, and Tuyu. They were a part of the organization the 12 Ninja Guardians," Chiriku said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. "At the name. I remember that name. You guys are an organization that protects the feudal lord of Hai no Kuni. It would be a job for Konoha, but since we protect the whole country and not just the feudal lord, then we leave it to you guys. Ka-chan, remember when you told me that you were invited to join?" Naruto asked, making Sakura, Sai, and Yamato widen their eyes. Kakashi and Yugao raised their eyebrows while Mikoto chuckled. "That's right, Sochi. I was invited to join thanks to my skills and expertise." Even Mikoto was invited to join," Kushina said, and everyone turned to Mikoto, who was blushing and rubbing the back of her head slightly. "Really, Ka-san?" Sasuke asked, as he hadn't known about this before, but Mikoto nonetheless nodded her head that she was in fact once invited to be a part of the organization. "But we refused," Kushina said, and soon the looks of admiration were changed to confusion as people wondered why. The 12 Ninja Guardians were a famous platoon of people. Who wouldn't want to join? "Why not?" Sakura asked, and Chiriku sighed and looked at the ground while Kushina spoke. "Because at the time, the nations were at war and all forces had to be expended. There was never a good opportunity. So we just refused it," Kushina said, making everyone nod. Kakashi knew that they had been at war and, while Yugao was young, she knew about it as well when she was a genin. "A trying time, that I'm sure it was, Kushina-sama, but still I must imagine that whoever stole the bodies must be planning something," Chiriku said, and Yamato turned around. "That's right. Asuma might know. He was also a member of the 12 Ninja Guardians," Yamato said, and everyone glanced at each other and whispered before Chiriku chuckled. "Asuma, huh? Has he been well?" he asked, and Yamato nodded his head while Chiriku spoke. "That's right, Asuma was among us. It was early in our life and we were young. A coup d'etat was planned against Fire Country. No one cared for peace by having individual nations. They only wanted peace under the nation of Konoha," Chiriku said, and Sakura snorted. "Selfish much?" she asked before people shushed her, making the pink-haired Kunoichi blush in embarrassment. Asuma-san, myself, Tuyu, Nama, Sito and Kitane all fought the traitors and we won, but we lost those 4. Asuma and myself are all that's left of that generation, Chiriku said and Naruto growled. Stealing corpses and trying to revive the dead with their own power. Insolence, Naruto jumping to his feet surprising people. The members of Heineken saddened at Naruto's look. The look of a personal summon being disrespected. It just wouldn't stand at all for the blonde. Naruto sit down. Sakura shouted before she flinched from Naruto's glare. He opened the sliding door and immediately closed it while Kushina followed him soon after. Please continue. I'll relay the message to Kushina and Naruto, Kakashi said and Chiriku nodded. With Naruto the blonde was currently walking through the Temple of Fire and sighed again. People reviving the dead without consequence or payment. It just didn't feel right to the blonde. Shin was the god of death. Stealing from him was just plain sick. I'll find who did this and I'll make them pay Shin, Naruto said before looking to the left and noticed people sparing. He quickly glanced at Sora, watched him go through his katas. He raised an eyebrow and watched as Sora had a match with one of the younger monks. If you could even call it that. This guy was no match for Sora, and while he got a few lucky hits, Naruto could tell that Sora was taking it easy. Well, I don't have the time to deal with this or that crazy guy. I'll just do something about him later, Naruto thought to himself before he felt a pat on his shoulder. What's the matter, Sochi? You seem upset, Kushina said, and Naruto looked up at the moon in all its glory. Ka-chan, those who take from Shin should know better. He's my summon. I can only imagine how he feels when people think they can revive someone like that. It's just not right to me. I'm sorry if I stormed out, Naruto said, and Kushina waved him off. It's all right. Besides, it seems that we're about to be informed soon, she said, turning around. So what's the strategy? Yamato asked, and Kushina shook her head. You guys have to strategize. We have to go back to Konoha by tomorrow. Sorry, but we'll be back in a bit, I'm sure. Perhaps tomorrow night for a plan, but right now our orders are important as well, Kushina said, and everyone nodded their heads. Very well. Sakura, Sai, come on and we'll talk, Yamato said while they nodded and walked off. Chiriku, you take care. I'm sure we'll meet up with each other later, Kushina said, and Chiriku nodded before the Heineken members turned to leave. It would be a long day, but they would finally reach Konoha and tell Tsunade some news while they were at it. Back in Uzushiogakure, Yura and Yuri were currently studying a scroll on Suiton techniques from Zabuza and Haku, who were calmly watching the two practice. Naturally they would spare with the sisters also. Yura would take Zabuza and Yuri would take Haku. Something about being fair to the gender. Alright brats. Take a break, Zabuza said, walking off while Yura huffed and rubbed a hand through her soft red hair. She sighed and leaned against a tree. That guy is brutal. I swear he's out to get me, Yura said, and Yuri chuckled while laying up also. He's not so bad, Ne-chan. I think he's just following Nisan's orders. Speaking of Nisan, why do you blush when you see him? Yuri asked, and Yura snorted. I don't. He's our family. We can't do anything, Yura said, and Yuri pouted. Mao, Ne-chan, you need to be honest. Nisan's cute. When he exposed his body to us I thought he was magnificent, Yuri said while Haku chuckled. No more manga for you, Yura said, and Yuri visibly shook. Yuri without manga was Naruto without ramen. It just wouldn't work. I bet if you got with Nisan then he'd make you happy, Ne-chan. Don't you think? Yuri asked, and Yura merely turned over and huffed. Just rest, Yuri. We'll talk about this later, Yura said, and Yuri silently chuckled with a nod of her head. Ne-chan and Nisan sittin' in a tree. Kissn-. Yuri sweat dropped when Yura stretched her shoulders and smiled forcefully. Rest felt good. Yuri, let's have a spar. Right now. Yura shouted as she chased Yuri around the compound, making Haku laugh at them both and their antics before she did wonder what the others were doing since she hadn't seen them for a few days. With Heineken, Hokage Mansion Tsunade was currently doing her paperwork like normal. The mission report from Yamato about arriving to the Fire Temple proved to be a great success. She didn't know how well this would turn out, but she could at least be happy with everything. That was until Naruto and the others dropped from the ceiling. All present and accounted for Hokage-sama, Kushina said, dropping down along with everyone else. They all smiled and waved and Tsunade nodded. Very good, all of you. Now then, Mikoto, I would like to know the details of this mission that Sarutobi-sensei had you going on, right? Bachan, Naruto interrupted, bringing everyone to him. Tsunade glanced at him and the blonde looked at the ground. They all looked at him and Tsunade sighed. What is it, Naruto? Tsunade asked rather impatiently, but she could deal if it was Naruto. So the young blonde walked up and while Mikoto put her hand on his shoulder, Naruto shook his head and took it off. He didn't want to lie anymore. Not to Tsunade, not for this. Bachan, please, we need to talk. This is top secret and on my life, please listen to me, Naruto said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes. She leaned back into her chair and nodded. Naruto sighed and gulped. I would also like it if the Umbu weren't present. I want no one present. Just you and me, Naruto said, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow to Naruto's request. The blonde's eyes seemed to be pleading with her on it and Tsunade bit her lip. She had never seen Naruto so anxious before, but sighed. Naruto, how serious is this? Tsunade asked, and Naruto felt like his world could be crashing down at the moment. Cubiclass secret, Naruto said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes dangerously at the blonde, but Naruto glared right back and Tsunade sighed. Then Naruto, I can't take them out. You know how crucial the Umbu are. Just tell me, Tsunade said, and Naruto bit his lip. He was really going to curse, but didn't and sighed. I'm so gonna regret this, Naruto said to himself before nodding. Alright then, Bachan. Guys, can you leave? Naruto asked, and everyone filed out the room, giving Naruto and Tsunade their privacy. Even the Umbu in the room were wondering what the blonde would have to say while Naruto bowed and kept his head low to the ground. Bachan, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, Dadabayo, Naruto said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes. What are you sorry for? She asked, and Naruto leaned up. He took off his black shin guard and gulped. I'm sorry because I lied to you. I lied about everything that had to do with this seal, Naruto said, and Tsunade looked at it. The Umbu in the room tensed at those words. Lying was death by law, or at least by Hokage's orders. It might even be imprisonment. Tsunade glanced at it and pounded the desk. What do you mean you lied? She asked, visibly angry. Naruto nodded and began. I lied about Ka-chan coming back. I asked Mikoto-chan to lie also. I asked Hayashi Hyuga, Hinako Hyuga and Hizashi Hyuga to keep quiet. I also have the reason why Sasuke came back willingly. Everything that I've done was a lie to you, Naruto said, and Tsunade stood to her feet. She wanted to be angry, but the look of pressure on Naruto's face as well as his contemplative look made her settle down. You know the consequences, right? She asked, and Naruto nodded his head. I know, but please, Bachan. Before I do get sent away, just let me explain why. I know you might not trust me knowing all of this now, but I'm here to tell you now on my loyalty as a Konoha shinobi that this is all 100% truth, the blonde said in absolute conviction. Tsunade narrowed her eyes at him and leaned back. Mentally she smiled, something about him always made her calm down even when angry. This talk, Naruto, Tsunade said, sighing, and the blonde raised an eyebrow. Huh? He asked in confusion, and Tsunade clarified. This talk will decide everything. Whether you continue to be a shinobi or not. Whether you're branded a traitor or not. Whether you go to prison or not. Also, whether I trust you again or not, Tsunade said, and Naruto immediately agreed. He also noticed that she didn't say whether he'd die or not. Not that that would matter really. Understood, Bachan? You will have questions in the end, but let me do the story, Naruto said, and Tsunade nodded. So, Naruto told her everything, and he meant everything. He told her that he should have died in Final Valley. He told her about meeting the Shinigami in his mindscape. He told her about trading barbs with him, about his life and saying that he could live since Shin found him interesting, and explained to the blonde the contract. How he could revive a person per 2 sacrifices, and he would follow Jiraiya's option for peace in the world. He said that he revived his mother by killing 2 bandits. He revived Gaara, who had originally died from the Akatsuki. He revived Hinako for Hayashi. He revived Mikoto for Sasuke, telling the Uchiha that if he came back to Konoha then he would be able to have his mother. He also told how he revived Hizashi for Neji. He also told how he was beginning his training to be the Shinigami's true summoner. He had revived Zabuza and Haku, and he told her about his ability with the Honshu, which was Kami's term for chakra of the gods. He even told her why he didn't say anything and his fears of Konoha spreading about his contract, since this stemmed from the Kyuubi incident. Naruto left nothing out. He said everything to her, and finally he stopped. That's everything, Naruto said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes. It was all starting to make sense now. Well, sort of. Naruto was trying to make people happy by returning their loved ones. Any orphan would want to see their parents. Sasuke would come back if he knew Mikoto was alive. Hayashi might actually smile if Hinako was round, and the same could be said for Neji and Hizashi. The Umbu in the room seemed skeptical of it all. No way would the god who rules over all of death would bind a contract with a mortal. It just wasn't possible. This had to be a lie, but the massive look of confidence across Naruto's face told them that he was very far from lying about this. You expect me to believe that? She asked, and Naruto shook his head. I don't expect you to believe it. I hope that you do, and I hope that you trust me when I tell you that, Naruto said, and Tsunade massaged her temples. This just wasn't the time to hear something like this. Naruto, how can I believe you now? Give me some proof, Tsunade said, and Naruto nodded his head. He sighed and undid his shirt. He quickly took it off, showing Tsunade his body. She would have scolded him if not for her and the Umbu gazing at the intricate sealing done across his arm. It went from his hand to his arm and then covered the side of his chest right down to where it almost touched the seal for the Kyuubi. Tsunade glanced at the entire thing. The seal is progressing, Bachan, and I'm progressing with it. Recently I received a boost. Shin said that before I was a Tamashii and now I'm a Shurikhan. I still don't know what this means, but I trust him. Also, this is my last piece of evidence, Naruto said, biting his thumb and tracing it over the seal. Kuchios no Jutsu, Naruto yelled, and the seal glowed for a little while like normal before fading. Tsunade stared around the room, and before long the entire place was covered in a choking ki that almost brought Tsunade to the floor. The Umbu in the room gasped and felt like they couldn't breathe. The air was so tight. Shin, stop it please. I'm walking on thin ice as it is, Naruto said, and immediately the room returned to normal and everyone could breathe again. Tsunade stood to her feet and glanced at Naruto before widening her eyes in realization. The floating white specter with his purple face and solid stare were enough to send anyone over the edge. Tsunade placed up a hand sign and yelled. Kai, she said out of habit, making Naruto sweat drop, but as he expected, Shin didn't disappear and Tsunade gazed up. The true Shinigami, she said in wonder. She couldn't attest this to sake anymore. No, this was beyond sake, this needed sake of the highest order. This needed sake from Kami, herself. That is, if Kami ever drank sake in the first place. Tsunade slumped into her seat and gasped. Brat, you're really the summoner to the Shinigami? Yeah, I am. Bachan, this is my contract of the Shinigami, Naruto said, holding up his hand, and Tsunade merely nodded while Naruto turned around. Shin, let Tsunade Bachan see her little brother Nawaki Senju and her former lover Dan Kato. If only for a bit. Please, Naruto pleaded, and Shin narrowed his eyes. He looked at Tsunade, widening her eyes. Not to revive? Just to look at, he asked, and Naruto nodded. Shin shrugged his shoulders and sighed before he allowed it so. Soon Tsunade watched in plain day, the two souls of her brother and lover arrive. Dan smiled, and so did Nawaki. Wo Ne-chan, you've gotten so old, Nawaki said, and Tsunade stood to her feet. She walked from behind her desk. She reached out her hands while Dan and Nawaki smiled. They opened their own arms and Tsunade brought them both into an intense hug. Naruto smiled and backed away a bit while watching it go down. The Umbu widened their eyes as they saw their Hokage cry. Nawaki, Dan, you're both here. I can't tell you how much I've missed you, Tsunade, while Nawaki turned around. It's all thanks to Shiken-sama, Nawaki said, looking at Naruto making the blonde fault. Him too? He asked, and Dan nodded. His exploits are heard of even in the realm of the dead. The first human to sign the official contract with the Shinigami. Shiken-sama is really amazing, Dan said, and Naruto growled. Damn that Shirkan title. Tsunade gazed at Naruto while Nawaki and Dan looked at the necklace around his neck. So you have Tsunade's necklace also, huh? Naruto-san, thank you for doing this. We're happy you could, Dan said, and Nawaki flashed the peace sign and Naruto shook his head. Don't mention it. I think all people should be happy if they can, Dadabayo, Naruto said, giving a thumb up while Tsunade let go of Dan and Nawaki. I love you both. Very much. I'm glad I could see you again. Nawaki, you were a great shinobi. Dan, you too. Do you two think about me? Tsunade asked, and Nawaki nodded along with Dan. All the time, Ne-chan. I never stop. Dan-san also. We never forgot you and we never will. We promise, Nawaki said, and Dan agreed with him while they started to fade. Tsunade smiled and quickly gave Nawaki a kiss on the cheek along with Dan before they both left. Naruto unfolded his arms and Tsunade wiped the tears of joy from her face. I can't make a good enough genjutsu to do that, Bachan, nor am I too cold-hearted to try. Do you trust me? Naruto asked, and Tsunade looked at him. She narrowed her eyes and raised her fist and sent it at his face. Naruto braced himself for the hurt, but Tsunade stopped it inches away and pulled it back. She smiled and kissed Naruto's forehead. The blonde widened his eyes before she backed away and passed her judgment. You are still a shinobi of Konoha. You aren't going to prison. You're not deemed a traitor. Naruto, I trust you, Tsunade said with the warmest smile he had ever seen her give, and the blonde gave a cheeky grin with a nod of his head. Tsunade leaned back and slammed her hand on the table. Boar, get down here, she yelled, and the Umbu came down fast while Naruto gazed at him. Yes, Hokage-sama, he said, and Tsunade grinned. What has been learned here is to never leave this room. You and the other Umbu here will swear on your lives to keep this silent. I will be telling only Shizen about this. Anyone else who learns of this will be told by me and me alone. Naruto's contract with the Shinigami will be labeled a SS rank secret. No one is to talk about this. Especially not with the civilians, Tsunade ordered, and Boar immediately nodded his head while Naruto chuckled. Thank you, Bachan, Naruto said, and Tsunade nodded. It all makes much more sense now. I knew something wasn't right, but for it to go that far. You really did bring back a surprise over the training period. Very good, Naruto, Tsunade said, and the blonde nodded as he opened the door. Soon he watched as Kakashi, Yugao and Sasuke fell on top of each other while Kushina and Mikoto were crying. That was so sweet, Dadabane. Kushina cried while Kakashi and Sasuke rubbed the back of their heads. Yugao coughed and gave a blush of embarrassment. Good for you Tsunade, Mikoto said and Tsunade chuckled. So I take it all the members of Heineken know? Tsunade asked and everyone nodded their heads while Kushina and Mikoto bowed their heads. We are however sorry for Tsunade raised her hand for them to stop. No need for apologies. I understand it now. I've taken the appropriate measures. You have all done a great job. To keep an enemy from knowing, then you don't even let your allies know. Excellent example of a shinobi, Tsunade said and everyone nodded though it was hesitant. Yes, but on to another matter at hand, Kushina said getting serious again as did everyone else while Tsunade nodded. Heineken told her about their fight in the plains near the fire temple and even about their meeting with Chiriku and the other monks. Yes I know. I received the report from Yamato about it a few hours ago. He told me that you were there. It's becoming a real issue and that's why I'm giving you all a mission, Tsunade said and everyone stood to attention while Tsunade placed her elbows on the table and entwined her fingers. Find out who's taking these corpses. What's their purpose and stop them completely. Understood, she asked and everyone nodded as they were about to leave. By the way Uchiha. How long have you been on probation? Tsunade asked Sasuke and the young Uchiha closed his eyes with a sigh. A month, he said simply and Tsunade nodded her head. Good. Then 2 more weeks and you're off probation. Now get going, she said and everyone nodded as they quickly left the room while Tsunade looked at the large amount of paperwork, but in the end even that couldn't drop the smile from her face. It was all thanks to Naruto after all. It was always thanks to Naruto. With the Heineken members Naruto leapt across the rooftops in the best mood he ever had in a long time and with good reason too. He had told Tsunade and she approved. He didn't have to lie anymore. It was awesome to be so free. Sochi slow down, Kushina said and Naruto did just that. He stopped and everyone regrouped together. Alright someone is stealing the corpses from the fire tombs, but who could it be? Mikoto asked and Sasuke spoke. From Naruto and I know then they were all from the 12 ninja guardians. Something to really be feared I might add. Orochimaru even told me that he had tried to be one, but was deemed too insane. We can believe it, everyone said making Sasuke snort like a chuckle. First we should meet up with Yamato-san along with Sakura and Sai. They might have a plan already, Naruto said and everyone couldn't help but agree. That's true. I agree with Naruto on his idea and I suggest that we get moving fast Kushina Taishu. The fire temple isn't far off. We might be able to make it by night time don't you think? Yugao asked and everyone could agree with her on that mark. Yeah, but do we need to stop for anything? Kakashi asked and Kushina sighed before widening her eyes. Oh yes. I'll be right back. Sochi, come with me. You all wait at the gates, Kushina said dashing off and Naruto followed her while the others went to the gate as were their orders. With Kushina and Naruto, Kaa-chan where are we going? Naruto asked as they hopped along the rooftops. Kushina smiled and merely headed faster in the direction while Naruto easily stayed close to her. They both soon left the entire village district and came down to their house. Naruto huffed slightly and Kushina opened the door. She moved to the back of the house and Naruto followed her. Simple Sochi. We're going to be learn that time-space ninjutsu that you wanted and your father's notes are going to help us out. The same notes for the Hiraishin. Come and help me seal this stuff, Kushina said and Naruto nodded his head. That's right, he hadn't been thinking about the jutsu that much since he was traveling around. About time he got back into the real swing of things. So on that note, Naruto and Kushina sealed up all the notes from Minato's archives that they could find on sealing and on the Hiraishin. It was they could get their hands on and seal into their bags. Got it Kaa-chan. Now let's go, Naruto said, and Kushina nodded her head fast as they raced out the door. They immediately caught up with the other Heineken members and all raced out of the door to make it back to the fire temple. Hai no Kuni's fire temple. Yamato, Sakura and Sai were waiting for Kushina and her team to arrive like they said they would. It was still a little early, but this was turning into a disaster and fast. The enemy already had 3 of the graves and it was becoming more and more dangerous. Yamato-sensei, we can't wait anymore, Sai said, and Yamato sighed with a nod. He was about to get to his feet before a monk came to get Chiriku. Chiriku-sama, they have the 4th corpse. What are we supposed to do? The monk asked, and Chiriku sighed as he got to his feet. Sora, you're coming with us. Yamato-san, you and your team will need to back us up, Chiriku said, and Yamato nodded before they all felt 6 presences. Sorry for being late, Kushina said, hopping down, and so did everyone else. No, you're just in time. Now then, what's to be done? Chiriku said, and Naruto spoke. Anything happen? He asked, and Sakura nodded. They have the 4th corpse. We're getting ready to move now, Sakura said, but Kushina shook her head, stopping Sakura. Tsunade passed the orders to us. We're supposed to stop them now. Yamato, you and your team are to serve as backup for Heineken. Chiriku and Sora will follow us. Naruto, Sasuke, you two will be one unit. Yugao and I will be the other. Mikoto and Kakashi will be the next. Understood, she asked, and everyone nodded their heads as Kushina closed her eyes. She locked onto the residual chakra signatures and grinned as she raised her hand. Let's all go, she said, and everyone nodded as they shined and ran out the temple. Yamato, Sakura and Sai glanced at each other and nodded as they raced after Heineken. With Heineken, the 6 members all raced across the trees with Kushina at the lead, trying to keep pace with the moving signatures. Move to the left, she commanded, and everyone did so as they broke to the left. Heineken's teamwork had greatly improved as they were better at relying on each other than on their first mission. This was much better. They all soon made it to an open field and everyone saw the 4 coffins converging on one spot. Looks like we found them after all, Yugao said, and everyone nodded while Kushina held up her hand. Everyone go, she said, and they all dashed down. Sora went along with Naruto and Sasuke, although it was reluctant, and the chased after coffins. With the enemy, Fuin was currently working on drawing on a scroll what appeared to be a rather detailed landscape and smiled at seeing the Heineken members coming out of their hiding places. They all converged on the coffins while Fuka smiled. They all seem to be happy-go-lucky to take those coffins, she said while Fudo grinned. Bastards. They have no idea that they are walking into a trap, Fudo said, and Fuka's gaze turned to Naruto, and before long the seal on her body burned as she cursed. Fuin and Fudo turned to her while Fuka glanced again. Why does this hurt when I see him? Damn it, I'll need to take him out, Fuka said in her thoughts, though she had no idea just what fate had in store for her as an Uzumaki. She snickered to herself while Fuin stopped. Done with it. Fudo, get to work, Fuin said, and Fudo nodded as he looked at the terrain on the scroll and did his hand signs. Doton, Yudenpen, Earth Release, Wheel of Fortune, Fudo yelled as he slammed the scroll. The Heineken members along with Sora raced for the coffins before everyone paused and backed away from the massive land formation that came out of nowhere. Sasuke. Sora. Naruto yelled as they all got separated. Sasuke backflipped away from a rock coming to hit him and cursed while he grabbed Sora, and the two jumped to the ground. Kushina and Yugao dashed away while Kakashi and Mikoto tried to evade as well. It was a large quake, but soon everyone was trapped in the caverns of the jutsu while Fuka, Furito and Fuin smiled. Time to go to work, you two, Fudo said, and Fuka brushed her hair. I'll have my fun with that blonde one, Fuka said before vanishing while Fuin and Fudo disappeared as well. With Sasuke, the Uchiha sucked his teeth as he realized he was trapped. He realized it with his Sharingan too late. If only he had a better reaction time, then this wouldn't be necessary in the slightest. He turned his head to see Sora on the ground and growled before he bopped him on the head. "Wake up, idiot. I'm not gonna baby your ass," Sasuke said, and Sora growled. "Who do you think you're talking to, bastard?" he asked, and Sasuke smirked. "Humph, don't get in Heineken's way, you little monk. I'm going to find the enemy." "I don't have the time to worry about you," Sasuke said before he dashed off, while Sora got to his feet and dashed off as well. Sasuke dropped to the ground and traversed the dark halls of the caverns and sighed. Yeah, he had no idea where he was. He had no idea where Naruto was or anyone else except this Sora guy who decided to stay with him. "Do you have any idea where you're going?" Sora asked, and Sasuke knelt down to touch the ground. He closed his eyes and sighed. "No, but I can feel the air underneath us. We'll get out soon," he said before he jumped in the air to dodge an earth spike. He growled and turned around to see Fudo coming out with a smile. "That's what you think, little boy," Fudo said, and Sasuke glared along with Sora. "Who are you? Where are we?" Sasuke asked, and Fudo chuckled. "Why, you're in my jutsu. You're also in our way, and so you're going to need to be dealt with," Fudo said, and Sasuke flashed his Sharingan while taking out his sword. He immediately lit it up in Raiton chakra and smirked. "Don't underestimate an Uchiha, you fool. You won't live to regret it," Sasuke said as he charged Fudo. With Naruto, the blonde groaned as he had no way of knowing where he was. Naruto sighed and rubbed the back of his head. "Sasuke. Sora," he called before he heard no response. Naruto rolled his eyes and shook his head. "No way they'd hear me. That jutsu was strong. I can't believe I didn't see it. Kyuso, I need more training," the blonde said before he heard a woman laughing. He narrowed his eyes to the laugh only to see a boulder coming at him. Naruto raised an eyebrow and rolled his eyes. "I think they're insulting you, Kit. To think you might die from a boulder is sad," Kyubi said, and Naruto nodded his head while taking out his sword. He brought it back and slightly unsheathed it. "Yuzu no Fukushu, Onigiri, Whirlpool Revenge, Demon Slash," Naruto yelled and slashed at the boulder, watching it fall into two pieces while he sheathed his sword. "Wow, impressive work. You're talented," someone said, and Naruto turned his head to see one hell of a woman coming from the shadows. She was quite tall and attractive. She wore a dark pink and shoulderless GI-like shirt with loose arm warmers reaching her upper arms and light purple spandex shorts. She also consisted of black low-heeled boots with an olive green tipping. She had two simple earrings covered by her hair. She had blue eyes and long red wavy maroon hair, which stretched down to her waist, and fair skin. All in all, to Naruto, she was too damn hot for her own good. "Right on the money with that one, Kit," Kyubi said, and the blonde grinned. "Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing, but why don't you tell me about your goals for trapping me in here?" Naruto asked, and Fuka widened her eyes. "Oh, am I already a threat to you?" she asked, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. "Well, you don't have to be, or I'd rather not rough up a gorgeous woman like yourself," Naruto said, and if Fuka was expecting something, then that wasn't it. "Why, thank you. I didn't think someone like you could see me as attractive," she said, and Naruto chuckled while brushing a hand through his hair. "Yeah, you're cute. Way too cute to be doing whatever it is you're doing." "So do we have to fight?" he asked, and Fuka merely smiled. "How about a kiss first?" she asked, touching her lips, and Naruto decided to go with the flirt even if it wasn't his style. "No date first?" he asked her, and while it wasn't his style to flirt with an enemy, he was just having so much fun despite the situation. Fuka chuckled lightly. This was interesting. No one had tried to match her in a flirt. She soon disappeared and appeared behind Naruto while touching his cheek. "It's almost a shame to kill someone so cute," Fuka said, and Naruto's eyes trailed down. He widened his eyes to a swirl symbol on her body and then chuckled. "Oh wow, I'm getting hot off my family. I'm so gonna need therapy," the blonde said in his thoughts before he turned around to face Fuka. It's also a shame that I might have to kill family, and such a cute family member at that, he countered, and Fuka widened her eyes. WW hat? Family? She asked, and Naruto grinned. Oh, this was too good to be real. Somewhere else Tobi and Deidara were walking around, and before long Tobi felt a shiver down his spine. He looked up at the moon and Deidara stopped. Tobi, what are you doing? Let's go, he said, and Tobi lightly glared. What's this unsettling feeling? It wasn't in my plans that Sasuke would return to Konoha, but somehow I've got to get him to meet with Itachi. If only I knew where he was. Oh, I know I'll see that old snake. I know he'll be planning something, Tobi said in thought before he walked off. Tobi, what are you doing? Answer me. Deidara said, and Tobi turned around. Senpai, please don't talk. Your breath it pumpin' right now, Tobi said, and Deidara growled while he made a clay bomb. Die, he said, and Tobi shouted out in pain even though Deidara didn't hit him once. Inside the stone structure, Naruto chuckled at Fuka's reaction to his comment, and before long she paused. She had always grown up alone, and never did she have any relatives that she knew about. Granted, she had never really bothered to look since losing her mother and father to a village war. This wasn't making any sense, but for now she really wanted to see just how far she could push her family. Oh, I have family? How nice. And such a cutie at that, she said, and Naruto snickered while scratching his cheek. Fuka merely smiled while tracing a line over his whisker marks. I could say the same thing about you. So wanna reconsider that kiss now? Or even that date? You don't seem like the type to have such fetishes, Naruto said, and Fuka laughed before she whispered in Naruto's ears. Oh, I don't think that would stop me really. Besides, your wind chakra seems extraordinary. I really would like to add it to my collection, with my kiss of death, she said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. He remembered the last time his chakra got sucked away. If he recalled, then it was in Koyuki's country where he had that gadget strapped to him. Needless to say, but that thing really got shattered by the blonde when he was angry. Well, you see, the thing is that I have a girlfriend, so I don't think I can betray her like that, Naruto said, and Fuka smiled. She twisted her body and pushed Naruto into a wall while smiling. Oh, don't worry about that. It'll be our little secret. Not that you'll see her again anyway, Fuka said, keeping the last part to herself. Little did she know about Naruto and his rather intense thinking. Think she could take it? The blonde asked, and Kyubi snorted. Not while I'm in here, though I doubt you would have to worry about dying since we're that lucky, Kyubi said, chuckling, and Naruto mentally nodded while sighing as Fuka brushed the side of her hair. Now then, soft or French? She asked, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why are you talking about food? He asked, making both Fuka and Kyubi fault. Yeah, so Naruto didn't know the technical terms for different types of kissing. That, of course, he didn't know how to kiss. Oh, he did, and Kushina could attest to that one. You don't have that much experience, do you? I'm talking about kissing, she said, giggling at Naruto's ignorance, and the blonde widened his eyes. Oh, like that? Well, forgive me for not knowing that. Besides, I have kissing experience. More than you could realize, he said, smiling and shuddering at 2 different times. His mother, and he'd rather not go to that other one. Oh, well, okay then. I'll be taking you now, she said, and Naruto rolled his eyes before holding a hand sign. Not today, he said as Fuka watched him vanish in a puff of smoke, his laughing echoing in the distance. Fuka narrowed her eyes and formed a small smile across her face before chuckling and placing a hand on her hips. Alright, I guess I might need to work a little. Oh, how fun for me, she said, sighing before moving after her target. With Sasuke and Sora, the Uchiha pushed the monk out of the way before he jumped into the air to dodge 3 earth spikes coming for him. Sasuke cursed seeing the opponent using Doton techniques, but he took only slight comfort in the fact that his abilities in Raiton could handle the Doton style that this guy was using. Is that all you can do, Uchiha? Can you only run? Fudo asked while Sasuke planted his feet to the ceiling of the caves. He narrowed his eyes before turning to Sora. Get out of here. This isn't someone you can beat, Sasuke said to Sora, and the monk in training growled while standing to his feet. I'm no child. Don't order me around, he said, and Sasuke growled while Fuon finished some hand signs that the Uchiha missed. Doton, Ganban Q, Earth Release, Bedrock Coffin, Fudo shouted, and immediately Sora was surrounded by the impending earth walls. He widened his eyes while Sasuke growled. He jumped down and slammed the earth jutsu with his right unfilled hand. Fuon watched the rock crumble to the ground while Sasuke reached for his sword. Don't make me tell you this again, but don't get in Heineken's way. Now get lost, Sasuke said, and Sora growled. He was about to move, but one look at Sasuke's serious eyes and he merely took to the Uchiha's orders and quickly left through an alternate route before Sasuke saw rocks from the ceiling fall, closing off an escape route. Looks like Fuon backs me up. A shame for you, right, brat? He asked, but his only response was 3 kunai that the Uchiha sent flying at him. Naturally, Fudo blocked all the shots as they embedded themselves in the ground. Sasuke smirked, and while the kunai exploded, making Fudo gasp as he was covered in the explosion. Did I get him? The Uchiha wondered to himself before he saw Fudo emerge virtually fine. Not bad, kid. Now let me show you how to have fun. Iwa no Yoroi, rock armor, Fudo shouted, and Sasuke growled before Fudo charged at him. The Uchiha took his sword and planted it in the ground. In his left hand, Sasuke lit the Chidori before charging at Fudo. The two closed in on each other, and Fudo snickered, knowing that there was no way that Sasuke could dodge him as his fist neared the Uchiha's face. It's over, brat, he said, but Sasuke gave a hidden smirk before he slid under Fudo's form. Fudo was really surprised by the action while Sasuke turned around. Chidori Kogasu, Thousand Birds Flare, Sasuke yelled, and Fudo watched as his sword and his left hand connected to each other via lightning. The sword glowed bright, blinding Fudo to his entire surroundings, but he wasn't about to let it end like this. Doton, Doria Hiki, Doton, Earth-style wall, Fudo shouted, and a large wall of earth came from the ground, stopping the light from hurting his eyes any more than it already was. He snickered slightly before he heard more cackling. Fudo widened his eyes to a realization that he was facing the wrong way as he gasped. The male member of the grave robbers saw Sasuke with a kunai in his hand. Lightning was circulating through it, increasing the length of the technique as it rested right in Fudo's stomach. Crafty brat, he said, and Sasuke settled for glaring at him. Done yet? The Uchiha asked Fudo, and the man snickered. He knew it wouldn't be long before his body went numb from all the lightning, so he had to act fast. Not really. Doton, Ganban Q, he yelled, and Sasuke watched the stone structures wrap around him again. The Uchiha widened his eyes to the realization before the stone wall closed, crushing whatever was inside. Sasuke's lightning attack stopped, and Fudo snickered. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong opponent. The least I can do is give you a burial. Fudo shrugged and walked up to the wall of earth. He drew Konoha's leaf symbol on it and nodded. Good enough, he acknowledged to himself before departing from the scene, leaving Sasuke to his grave. It didn't take long before the wall bursted out and Sasuke emerged. The Uchiha sighed and walked over to his sword. He quickly sheathed it and picked it up from the ground. Now that I've managed to trace his ass, I can go and find the others. There is a large amount of chakra just east of me. I'd better get moving, Sasuke told himself, and the young Uchiha vanished in a lightning shunshin. With Yugao and Kushina, the two females were walking across the caverns, and finally Yugao sighed. They had been walking for about half an hour and hadn't gotten anywhere. It was starting to become more of a chore than anything else. Easy, Yugao. Let's take a break, Kushina said, and Yugao merely agreed with her captain and sat down on the ground. Kushina sat next to her and the two stared at the caverns for a bit. Why do you think they let us out here? It's obvious that we threw them off. It's like they weren't expecting us at all, Yugao spoke, voicing her opinion on the predicament that they were in, and Kushina took a thinking pose. It's more likely that they weren't expecting us. I'm positive that they were waiting for Yamato-san's team. If those three went, then no doubt that they would have been in quite a situation, but we've all been working together for at least 2 months now, maybe 3. We can get out of this. Come on, Kushina encouraged, and Yugao stood to her feet with a nod. Yes, Kushina Taishu. Let's get moving, Yugao repeated, and the two quickly raced off to go and find the others. Hey Kushina Taishu, look at that, Yugao spoke, and Kushina looked up to see a very small opening in the ceiling. Our ticket out of here. Hoist me up, Kushina declared, and Yugao held her hands together, poised to give Kushina her boost. Kushina jumped and Yugao sent her into the hole in the ceiling. She watched Kushina climb out while the redhead smiled at the moon. Ah, finally. Now to get Yugao out of there, Kushina said, and before long she let down a chakra chain to go and catch her partner. Yugao grabbed the chain and Kushina pulled her up. Yugao emerged from the hole and sighed while Kushina helped her to her feet. Yugao thanked her captain for the help, and the two ladies could definitely see that they weren't in the plains anymore. No, there were too many ravines and stone structures to know where they were the last time. Yugao groaned while Kushina rubbed the back of her head. Well, isn't that just great, Yugao grumbled, and Kushina could feel her frustration. Yeah, I would suppose that it was. Good thing that we remain inconspicuous to the enemy, she said, and Yugao agreed before someone spoke. Oh, you're not that lucky. I see all in this domain. You both will not escape from me, Fuan said, making them turn around. Kushina narrowed her eyes while Yugao drew her sword. Who are you? Why are you doing this? Yugao asked, but Kushina steadied her hand to lower the weapon. She could see the scroll the woman was holding like a map of the terrain. It wouldn't do them any good to make things any worse than they probably were. This was their second mission as a squad, and Kushina would be damned with her Umbu commander pride on the line if they failed a second time. You don't need to know who I am. You won't live long enough to know anyway, she answered before her male partner came next to her. So these are your opponents. I hope they give me a better show than one boy did. His Sharingan was quite the problem, but now he's buried underneath the earth, Fudo hinted, making Kushina raise an eyebrow. He must have been talking about Sasuke. Kushina, for all she knew, didn't doubt Sasuke's skills in swordsmanship. He was quite exceptional, and she knew that both her and Mikoto trained him not to lose to such people. What do you do? Yugao asked, and Kushina stepped forward, making her partner confused while she drew her sword. Yugao looked in awe at the shiny metal, and Kushina smiled. Sorry, but you didn't kill Sasuke. He's too good for that. And on the off chance that you did, then you are going to meet one severely pissed off mother, Kushina said while Fudo got ready for a second fight. With Mikoto and Kakashi, achoo, Mikoto sneezed and she rubbed her nose. Kakashi turned to her and chuckled, seeing Mikoto blush from her actions. I didn't think it was that cold in here, Mikoto, Kakashi said, and Mikoto shook her head at Kakashi's words. It's not that, Kakashi. I'm just getting a little anxious is all, Mikoto said, and Kakashi just nodded his head to her words, not really believing them, but he didn't want to make Mikoto upset with any of his bickering, so he left it alone. Not that Kakashi was one to bicker, but that was beside the point at the moment. Kakashi and Mikoto continued to walk through the caverns, and while they didn't see anything out of the ordinary, they could still feel the vibrations of the earth, signifying that something was going on that they didn't know about. Kakashi took the lead for the both of them, and the two came to the center of a room. Kakashi widened his eyes as he spotted the 4 coffins. They were all resting in the middle of the room with no one guarding them. Mikoto, look, Kakashi said, and Mikoto turned her head behind the wall. She looked at the coffins and narrowed her eyes. It was too coincidental that they would be right there. A trap? She asked, but Kakashi wasn't sure how to answer that question. He didn't see anything that could resemble a trap, but his shinobi senses were going off telling him of the danger that would come if they went for the coffins until someone snuck up on them. Ka-san, the person said, and Mikoto along with Kakashi turned fast with their swords to Sasuke, who blocked them both with his own. Mikoto breathed a sigh of relief while Kakashi smiled. "Looks like you're alright, Sasuke," Kakashi said, and the Uchiha nodded his head. "I could feel your chakra signatures since you were close to me, so I could find you guys easily." "What were you looking at?" the Uchiha asked, and Mikoto pointed. Sasuke looked from behind the wall to see the coffins and narrowed his eyes. "A definite trap," he stated, making Kakashi and Mikoto nod in agreement with him. No one decided to move from the spot until at least one more member of the team came. If neither Kushina, Yugao or Naruto appeared, then they would just go for it and hope for the best, but they would really wish they would hurry. With Team Yamato, Sakura and Sai watched along with Yamato as Heineken was trapped in the stone structure. Chiriku also watched, but he didn't intervene as were Kushina's orders, but he would be lying if he said that he wasn't worried about them or concerned for Sora, but Sakura was the only one who made it known. "Yamato-sensei, they've been in there for a long time. Maybe we should go after them," Sakura said to Yamato, who was scoping out the situation. Sai merely narrowed his eyes while reading his book. "We have our orders. We're to wait for the signal to move after them," Sai said, and Sakura growled while looking at the ground. "We're more than competent enough to do this. Yamato-sensei, what do you say?" Sakura asked, and Yamato could feel her piercing gaze across his body, and the Jonin leader sighed while rubbing the back of his head. "We would normally wait, but I don't think that we should." "Sakura, Sai, prepare to move and intercept the enemy," Yamato commanded, and Sakura smiled with a nod while Sai closed his book. He might as well get some exercise in while he had it in an opportunity. Sakura and Sai moved towards the structure while Chiriku prayed for everyone's safety. They had told him to stay and watch for enemy movements, so he did just that. With Naruto, the blonde dodged a right-hand strike and could only stare at Fuka in amazement. Earth, fire, water, and lightning. She had all the natures, but for some reason she just wouldn't do a wind jutsu, and she was fascinated with the blonde the most. She had been chasing him all through the caves, telling him that she would kiss him. The blonde had been able to trick her only a few times with the Kage Bunshin, but this was starting to become a hassle. Whoa, hold on a second. He couldn't die. Why the hell was he running? Naruto stopped in mid-step and face-bombed. It wasn't one of those things that he could remember, but he could definitely see himself forgetting it. Still, maybe he was indifferent since he had just told Tsunade a few yesterday that he could die from the seal. He really had to remember that crap for later. "Next time, remind me when I'm running like an idiot," Naruto hollered in his mind, and Kyubi cackled like a maniac behind the cage. "It's not my fault that you memory shortage. Now turn around and fight the bitch," Kyubi said before fading while Naruto turned around. He could see Fuka walking up to him and she saw him smiling. "You stopped running. Tired?" she asked, and Naruto rolled his eyes. "No, not really. Just figured that a man shouldn't reject a woman's advances," Naruto said, and Fuka widened her eyes slightly. She almost lived by that saying. She wondered how Naruto knew it, and little did she know that Kyubi had something to do with it. "You really are an interesting young one," Fuka admitted, and Naruto snickered while rubbing the back of his head. "People say that about me a lot," Naruto returned, and he saw Fuka appear behind him. She quickly grabbed him and pinned him to the wall. Naruto didn't resist this time, only because he couldn't. He had been hit by a damn sunbon a little while earlier, and from running some numbing poison went through his body a lot faster, so he was losing most of the feeling while Fuka smiled and licked her lips. "You're mine," she said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. He closed his eyes and leaned up only to surprise Fuka by giving her a hug. "You don't have to do this, you know." You could just come with me. Not be a criminal. Not a bad deal, right? Naruto asked, and Fuka just looked at the blonde like he grew a second head. She couldn't resist the urge to chuckle at the blonde before it came out in a full-blown laugh, even if she could see the look in Naruto's eyes were pure serious. And what makes you think that I don't want to be a criminal? What makes you think that I would even go with you at all? You think that just 'cause you call me family that our situation is different? She asked, and Naruto merely blinked his eyes. In that order. I'm not sure if you want to be a criminal or not. Face it, you'll grow bored with it eventually and you'll just be an empty woman inside who got nothing that she really wanted. I doubt you'd go with me unless I forced you to, and that's really not my style, but I don't mind forcing you back. Also, yeah, I'm sure our situation is different. Just not in the way that you're thinking, Naruto explained, and Fuka was actually starting to grow tired of this little game called, Who Could Last the Longest in a Flirt. She was actually growing rather annoyed. Sorry, but the peaceful life doesn't suit me, she said, and Naruto snickered. Trust me, we're anything but peaceful. Ka-chan is violent, everyone is too loud including me, and we're all always doing stupid mess, but we have fun, Dadabayo, Naruto said to her. Fuka snorted and gripped Naruto's shoulders. You think a few words are going to have someone turn on their comrades for you? Fuka asked, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Yeah, I guess not. I had tried with Haku-chan, but that didn't exactly work out the first time. I guess that's just me. Wanting to save nearly everyone I come across. I really must have a screw loose, Naruto said, and Fuka's eyebrow twitched. They were getting off the subject of her desire, which was her getting that wind chakra. She narrowed her eyes and smiled. You talk too much, she said, and Naruto nodded his head. But you see that I'm not attacking you. Had I wanted to, then you would be a dismember mess on the floor, but I am not that sick. No, but you definitely wouldn't be around now, would you? He asked, and Fuka chuckled again. No, but it's too late. She and Naruto could only watch as Fuka kissed him. Fuka finally got what she wanted. Naruto widened his eyes as he felt her tongue intrude in his mouth. He could feel the chakra in his body connect to hers as Fuka separated. Sorry, but this is now mine, she said to him, but Naruto watched as his chakra stopped turning blue like it should have been. It now turned pure white. He could see Fuka widening her eyes before she could feel two figures of chakra. One so evil and vile that just taking this chakra would kill her, and the other, it wasn't even chakra. No, this was like trying to take power from death itself. Fuka tried to break the connection before Naruto wrapped his arms around Fuka's blouse and kept him near her. She stared into his eyes, and the blonde stared back like his eyes were saying, one move and you'll be dead, don't you dare break this. Fuka gulped while the kiss continued. Yeah, brat. You'd better be lucky for me then. Haha, oh, this is great, Kyubi stated while the blonde closed his eyes. He retrieved all his remaining chakra along with his honshu and stopped the kiss while Fuka fell to the ground coughing. What are you? She asked, and Naruto smiled at her. Wouldn't you like to know? He asked, nearing Fuka slightly. With Kushina and Yugao, Fuin watched as Fudo fell to the ground. Kushina sighed and rubbed the back of her head. She turned back to Fuin, who stood to her feet in shock. Is it your turn? She asked, and Fuin opened her scroll. Yugao chose that time to charge at the woman, but was too late as Fuin made a small semicircle across the landscape with her pen. Immediately Kushina and Yugao felt the ground tremble at their feet. Kushina cursed and jumped in the air along with Yugao while Fuin chose that time to get away. No way was she going to stick around. Should we got after her? Yugao asked and narrowed her eyes. You go find the others. I'm going after her. It'll be best, she suggested, and Yugao took the suggestion before vanishing out of sight to go and find the others. Meanwhile Kushina dropped to the ground and smirked. Don't think you can get away from me, Databane, Kushina said before she felt the seals on her body burn lightly. It hurt for a few seconds, but then calmed down. She could feel Naruto and he was going through various emotions at the moment. Happiness, sadness, resolve and determination, lust and now more happiness. "Sochi, I wonder if you're okay," Kushina said, and before long she noticed a giant light appear from one location. She narrowed her eyes before she ran for it. Kami only knows that it might not be a good sign. With Fuan, the female grave robber saw the light also and widened her eyes in horror. This wasn't a part of the plan. It couldn't be. She wasn't informed of this at all. It's too early. No one should be at the dead center of this ravine where the corpses are. I thought I tracked everyone. What's going on here? Fuan wondered before the leader, Furito, came behind her. Fuan, what is going on? You said that the corpses were secure. Why is this happening? Furito asked in anger while Fuan gulped. I don't know, sir. Something is wrong here. Should we withdraw? Fuan asked and Furito cursed. Yes, we should. Call back Fuka and Fudo, he said, and Fuan sighed. Fudo is dead, she said, and Furito bit his lower lip. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. The only right thing was that he met Sora and was able to talk with him about some things that were sure to give Konoha a headache if it needed to. Damn it, Fuan, find Fuka and retreat. I'm going, Furito said, and Fuan nodded her head before leaving. Damn this team. I didn't foresee them coming. Who are these people anyway? I know all about Konoha and I've never seen these types of people before, Furito said, racing for the light source. With Mikoto, Kakashi and Sasuke seeing that no one was coming and that the objective was right in front of them, the three members of Heineken moved from their spots, but kept their eyes open. Sasuke stepped forward into the room and so did Mikoto, followed by Kakashi. The three were inside and Sasuke made a quick observation. I don't see anything. I'll go and try to snatch the corpses. Ka-san and Kakashi should stay back just in case, Sasuke said, and while the others wanted to say otherwise, the young Uchiha already made a break for one of the coffins. He quickly grabbed one and with all his strength Sasuke pulled it out of the spot where it was edged in. Kakashi and Mikoto watched the coffin fall to the ground and slid in front of them. Yep, this was too easy. Suddenly Sasuke saw the place where the coffin was just in close and seals appeared across the room. The two Uchiha and Kakashi widened their eyes before a fierce light shined across the room while Mikoto sighed. I knew I was right, she said, and Kakashi sweat dropped. Woman's intuition, he asked, and Mikoto watched as the other coffins fell from their places. No, it's just that being married to Fugaku I was never wrong, she said, and Kakashi sweat dropped even further as to what she possibly meant by her words. Meanwhile Sasuke narrowed his eyes. What the hell happened? Someone asked, and everyone turned their heads to see Naruto along with Fuka, which really confused the hell out of them. With Naruto and Fuka, 10 minutes earlier Naruto placed his sword in Fuka's throat and narrowed his eyes using his death stare to make her all the more scared of her consequences. Not only did she not get the wind chakra she wanted, but now she felt feverish. She was sweating like crazy and her body was burning up, and naturally Naruto knew what was wrong with her. No matter how he tried it, but he couldn't get one small remnant of Honshu that entered Fuka's body. Shin had told Naruto that only he and Kushina could handle that power because of their connection to the Shinigami. If one had it and didn't have any connection, then it would be a very unpleasant experience such as the one Fuka was demonstrating. What did you do to my body? Fuka asked, and Naruto rolled his eyes at her. I did nothing. You're the one who couldn't keep their lips to themselves. Sigh, my chakra is poisonous and those who try to take it internally like you just did would, at worst, end up dead. You just don't go kissing random people. Kyuso, hold still, Naruto said, and Fuka watched as the blonde withdrew his blade from her throat. She then saw him lean down and lean his face to hers. What are you doing? She asked, and Naruto sweat dropped. You, who try to kiss people for a living, don't know what I'm going to do. I wonder if everyone in my family is this dense. Though naturally I guess I can't talk, Naruto said, and Fuka widened her eyes before Naruto kissed her again. By no means was this kiss supposed to be sexual. It was simply help is all. One family member helping the other, with their lips. Naruto sighed as he tried to connect his chakra back to Fuka's, which worked thankfully. He was aware that Fuka was moaning inside the kiss, and he realized that she had more than tried to do what she did the last time and suck his tongue, to which was getting the blonde more excitement than he needed or wanted. Trying to work here, he said in his thoughts before sighing again. He smirked as he found the last remnant of his honshu and took it back into his being. With that done, Naruto separated from Fuka and smiled. There, you should be fine in a few minutes, Naruto said, and Fuka looked at him skeptically, but he was right. Over the past few minutes, Fuka's body was all right and she stopped her fever. Fuka felt her body return to normal while Naruto groaned. Now then, why don't you tell me what you're doing with these coffins, Naruto said, and Fuka stared at him. She would have ran, but something in Naruto's eyes made him stop. She doubted it was fear, but she effortlessly picked herself up off the ground and narrowed her eyes. I'm gonna forget this encounter right now. Just get lost. I've had enough of you, Fuka said, and Naruto chuckled again. Naturally I would say the same, but I'm taking you back with me. I'm not going to see you throw your life away, Naruto said, and Fuka narrowed her eyes at him. She sighed, turned around, and shrugged her shoulders. You keep calling me family, but I've never seen you before in my life. Mind explaining that? She asked, and Naruto nodded, not feeling the situation at all. Sure, a few months ago did you feel a burning on any part of your body and before you knew it a strange symbol appeared on it? Naruto asked, and Fuka widened her eyes, unconsciously telling Naruto all that he needed to know. That was you? She asked, and the blonde widened his eyes. That's right. That's the seal of the Uzumaki clan. It's proof that you are an Uzumaki. I'm sure one of your parents or their parents might have been an Uzumaki. So that makes you one. We might as well be cousins, Naruto said, and Fuka closed her eyes while brushing her hair. And you think that means that I want you to save me? She asked, and Naruto shook her head, making Fuka raise an eyebrow. That's not why I'm trying to save you. Those words I said before, I'd rather not hurt family, I'd rather not kill such a cute woman like you, were both real. You might be a little loose as far as I know, but you don't seem entirely bad like the others, Naruto said, and Fuka settled for a plain glare. How do I know you won't turn me over to your Hokage if I went with you? She asked, and Naruto shrugged. You don't, but then again in our profession that's a lifesaver. You've got 3 choices. 1. Take my offer and come back home with me, Akachan, to see more family of your own will. 2. You refuse my offer and I drag you back kicking and screaming, or 3. You refuse, we fight and I kill you. Take your pick, Naruto said, and Fuka chuckled. And what makes you think you can kill me? She asked, and already she regretted it as she saw a piece of shiny metal at her throat, or more specifically her hair. She tensed at seeing Naruto smiling with a Kage Bunshin right behind her. When did you dash? I'm just that good, Naruto interrupted, and Fuka sighed. You are an asshole. Even worse, you don't know how to treat a woman with respect, she said, and Naruto smiled. Hey, I'll treat you with all the respect you deserve, Dadabayo. I don't want you as an enemy, and right now you probably don't want me as one either. If you're worried about your friends hurting you, then don't worry. You're very strong as far as you've let me see. A grade A material woman, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head with his cheeky smile. Fuka merely stared at him and seethed. This was not her day at all. She was getting a throbbing headache from all of this. She ultimately sighed and looked back at Naruto. How many? She asked, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. What? He asked back, and Fuka sighed. How many other family members are there? She asked, and Naruto oed. The blonde looked at the ceiling and spoke to himself. There was Yura, himself, his mother, quite possibly Tayuya, which he might have been sure of, and his cousin, Tsunade, since Kushina had taught Naruto about the Uzumaki in their relation to Konoha during the 2 years of his training. Well, I know there might be more in the world out there, but as for the ones I know, then 6 others. I know where one is, but they aren't around home. What are you saying? Naruto asked, and Fuka flickered her hair. I'm not saying anything. I'm thinking that for some reason I've always loved whirlpools, Fuka said, and Naruto widened his eyes. Me too, Dadabayo, he said, and before long he saw Fuka appear behind him. She licked his cheek, making the blonde blush. Since you have so much faith in me, then you'd better take responsibility for all of this, Fuka said, and Naruto stuttered a response before they both felt the ground shake violent. A fierce light shined outside where Fuka had tried to unleash a Katan Jutsu on Naruto, opening the cavern slightly. What the hell? Naruto wondered before Fuka narrowed her eyes. She shivered and bit her thumb. It's the coffins. They were moved. Oh no, come on, we've got to get to the center of the ravine, she said, and Naruto ran up to her. You know the way out? He asked, and Fuka scoffed. I at least know it better than you, handsome. Being around these people does that to you. Now stop asking questions and follow me, Fuka said, and Naruto immediately agreed with his newest family member. He followed Fuka through the caverns, all the while smiling at her running form. You have very beautiful hair, he said out of the blue, and Fuka turned around to gaze at Naruto for a minute before turning back forward. Flattery gets you nowhere for most girl, but not with me. Thanks, I guess, she said as they raced off. Present time Fuka passed everyone else and turned around. Who moved them? She asked, making Mikoto and Kakashi turn to Sasuke, who snorted. Naruto lightly chuckled, all the while Kushina and Yugao came from opposite ends of the room. Looks like we're all here. Hey, wait a minute, you're one of the dash. Yugao paused when Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. She turned to him and he shook his head. Everyone raised an eyebrow while Naruto turned to his mother. Ka-chan, meet Fuka-chan, or Fuka Uzumaki, Naruto said, making Kushina widen her eyes. Kakashi gasped while Mikoto and Sasuke showed surprise, but none more than the Uchiha. If only he had an alive family member also, then he could revive his clan. Maybe one that wasn't so damn into like the majority of Konoha's female population. Another one, huh? Kushina said, and Fuka stared at the redhead female. Fuka looked over her closed and shrugged her shoulders. Kushina seemed rather uneasy about Fuka, but for what reason she didn't know. Well, can we please save the pleasantries for later? Fuka asked, and Naruto nodded, standing next to her. What's wrong? Naruto asked, and Fuka sighed while flicking her hair. Since your teammate moved the coffin, then Fuin's seal activated. It was supposed to be used at the edges of Konoha, but now the entire ravine is going to explode unless something happens to make it stop, Fuka said, and the light intensified while Furito jumped to the ground. Fuka, what are you doing here? Well, never mind. You take care of those 6. I'm going to take care of this, Furito said, and Fuka turned back to Naruto. The blonde merely nodded his head, and Fuka raised a hand sign. Suetun, Ja no Kuchi, water release, snake's mouth, she shouted, and immediately water surrounded everyone as Naruto told them all to jump out the way. Furito did his work over the seal while watching Fuka take care of the others, or so it seemed. He wrote seals over the coffins, and soon the light started to fade from view. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Sasuke and Mikoto yelled together, and their fireball raged across the battlefield while Fuka jumped out the way. She took a kunai and threw it at Naruto before being surrounded by Kakashi and Yugao. The two moved fast before incapacitating Fuka, who gasped and fell to the ground unconscious, while Naruto wrapped her in wire to prevent her escape, but that was a temporary lapse of judgment as Fuka wasn't as unconscious as she made out to be. Raitun, Jibashi, lightning release, electromagnetic murder, Fuka yelled as the lightning sprayed from her body and shot at Naruto and his group along with tearing at the ground. Naruto cursed and did his hand signs. Futon, Daitapa, wind release, great breakthrough, the blonde yelled and a fierce wind blew casting away the lightning like it was nothing before Fuka broke from the wires and just in time too. Everyone watched as Furito sent 3 coffins away and held the 4th one next to him. He shouted for Fuka who just got free. Fuka, let's get out of here, Furito said and Fuka nodded as she appeared next to Fuin. Heineken came together and narrowed their eyes while Furito smiled. You costed us much more trouble than I actually thought, but don't worry, you'll be taken care of soon. You and Konoha. Fuin, Fuka, let's dash. Furito widened his eyes as Fuka kicked one of the coffins towards Heineken. Naruto jumped into the air and caught the coffin while Fuin and Furito widened their eyes. Fuka, what are you doing? Fuin hollered. Just before Fuka finished another hand sign. Suetun, Haran Bansho, water release, stormy blockade, Fuka shouted and immediately water came crashing down from the sky as Furito and Fuin jumped out of the way as Fuka sent it flying towards them. Furito and Fuin, still being off balance from Fuka's treachery, couldn't react in time as they were slammed into the wall by the water before Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke started to help out. It wasn't that Kakashi and Sasuke trusted Fuka in the least, but they trusted Naruto, and if the blonde stopped Yugao from attacking her then she must have been at least good to him in a sense. Yuzu no Fukushu, Dai Uzumaki Ikari, Whirlpool Revenge, Great Maelstrom Rage, Naruto yelled with his sword and the waters danced around him as he sent them flying at his enemies as well. Raitun, Reiju Hashiri no Jutsu, Lightning Release, Lightning Beast Running Technique, Kakashi shouted as he sent a lightning hand from his hand towards the water while Sasuke did his own. Chidori Nagashi, Sasuke shouted and the technique also went into the water. The 3 techniques were sent crashing into each other while the water powered the lightning causing whatever was inside to be electrocuted instantly. Naruto, Mikoto, Yugao and Kushina covered their eyes before the technique stopped and everyone looked. Fuka widened her eyes to see Furito and Fuin were gone. Is this your answer, Fuka? Furito asked and everyone looked up to see Furito and Fuin looked down at Fuka in disgust. Fuka stared back at them with a small smile and waved. Was the water jutsu not obvious enough? She asked while Furito closed his eyes. Fuin shook her head and sighed. You won't live to regret this transaction, Fuka, Furito said before vanishing out of sight. Fuin narrowed her eyes at Fuka, but Fuka glared back. Was it worth it? Fuin asked and Fuka looked back. She saw Naruto smiling lightly at her while she closed her eyes. As much as I know it was, she said and Fuin disappeared. Fuka sighed and turned around. Everyone glanced at each other while Naruto walked up to her. I don't need any condolences, Fuka said and Naruto chuckled. While I was going to offer them I figured I'd wait to see what you wanted. Do you think bad of me? Naruto asked and Fuka snorted lightly looking at the ground. She then looked up to see the moon shining over the two. Its lovely glow showering the dark room. Not really, but like I said. You'd better take responsibility for this, she said and Naruto snickered. I promise I will. Just so long as you promise not to kiss any more guys, the blonde said and Fuka snickered. Jealous? She asked and Naruto groaned before walking away. He turned to see Sasuke and Kakashi holding the coffin in their hands. You'd wish, he said and Fuka followed him before everyone saw Sakura and Sai enter the room with Sora. Where the hell have you been? Sasuke asked and Sora snorted. Shut up you asshole. I was doing my job. While you all were dealing with the grunts I found out who the real leader was behind the dash, it was a man named Furito. We know. We just say him and that must mean that you got the stuffing beat out of you, Naruto said making Sasuke give a grin. Sakura and Sai glanced at each other while Sora blushed in anger. Oh shut up, he said before Yamato came up to Sasuke and Kakashi while smiling. Need some help? He asked and Kakashi gave an eye smile to his response. It would be greatly appreciated. As a matter of fact, Kakashi said and Yamato nodded his head as he meshed his hands together. Immediately wood came from the ground and wrapped around the coffin. Naruto and Sasuke widened their eyes to the use of the Shodame's abilities while Kushina and Mikoto raised their eyebrows. It was obvious that the Uzumakis and Uchihas weren't used to seeing that type of thing. The wood took the coffin into the ground while Yamato turned to Fuka. What do we do with her? Sai asked staring at Fuka while Naruto rolled his eyes. We aren't doing anything. You guys are going about your job while I take care of Fuka-chan. She's my prisoner so she's under my responsibility for the time being, Naruto said while everyone glanced at each other. Kushina couldn't resist the urge to crack a smile while Sasuke snorted. Pervert, he said and Naruto raised an eyebrow while Mikoto snickered. So that's the reason you tied her up in wire. Naruto-kun, you really are ambitious, the Uchiha matriarch said while Naruto stuttered. Fuka chuckled and wrapped her arms over Naruto's shoulder. Prisoner, huh? Well then, Jailer-kun, I'm at your mercy until we reach Konoha. Please take care of me, Fuka said rubbing Naruto's cheek sensually while the blonde's blush deepened. He turned to his mother who he caught laughing. It made him happy that she was okay with this close contact. He'd rather not do anything to upset both his mother and his lover. Meanwhile, Kushina was taking it sparingly. At first seeing Fuka as an Uzumaki, she thought it was a joke, but she also noticed the mark and knew it was true what Naruto said, and while she looked like a hussy, she seemed to tolerate Naruto at least as Kushina figured. Granted, the mother side and lover side were mixed. She was torn between laughing at the scene or strangling the female Uzumaki where she stood for being that close. In the end, she just decided to smile and laugh. Well, let's go. It's late and Chiriku will be worried. We'll tell him we got one of the 4 coffins. Hopefully we'll be able to get this back and have the fire temple raise security over it, Kushina said and everyone agreed as they walked out. Outside Chiriku was worried like all hell, but that soon stopped as he saw Heineken emerge along with Team Yamato and Sora. I'm glad you are all alright, Chiriku said and everyone nodded their heads while Yamato did a hand sign. Soon the coffin emerged and Chiriku turned to it. It was the only one we could get. Better put some better protection on it this time, Sasuke said and Chiriku nodded. I will. This will stay in the fire temple until the other 3 are found and their kidnappers taken out. I can't thank you all enough, Chiriku said making the others nod. Well, Kushina Taishu got one of them. I think the second male in their group. Granted he was already injured. His name was Fudo I think, Yugao said and Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Oh, that guy. I wondered where he went. I had fought him earlier. He thought he ended me, but I chose that time to regroup with Kaa-san and Kakashi. A lucky break, I figured. I was wondering where he was, not. Sasuke said and Naruto narrowed his eyes before closing them. He showed the power of his Honshu and turned around. Just as he thought. He saw Fudo's soul lingering around Fuka like a damn bug. Fuka-chan, hold still, Naruto said and Fuka watched him draw his sword. She figured that she was about to get attacked or betrayed by the blonde, but Naruto smiled. Don't worry, just getting rid of a damn bug, Naruto said as he slashed forward. Fudo widened his eyes and yelled out as Naruto's sword took in the soul. It glowed slightly before dissipating. Naruto sheathed the blade and smiled. Done, he said and Fuka looked at him weirdly. Thank you, she asked and Naruto waved it off before he saw the other members of Heineken talking with Chiriku. Something about bringing Sora back with them to Konoha to relay the message of the Fire Temple's future actions regarding the coffin and its security, to which Sora immediately accepted. Well, Konoha will now go back and relay the message. You can expect a message via messenger bird in a few weeks. Naturally Chiriku agreed and summoned two monks to secure the coffin and bring it back to the temple. Good luck Sora. Also behave, Chiriku reprimanded and Sora snorted. Understood Chiriku-sama, Sora said, and not wanting to waste any time, Heineken and Team Yamato continued to Konoha along with their 2 extra passengers. With Heineken, Naruto and the others were walking in relative silence. Due to Fuka being the blonde's prisoner, she had to stay within the blonde's line of sight or risk being guarded by everyone else for the rest of the trip. No one, but Naruto and maybe Kushina, trusted her, but that was a big maybe on Kushina's part. The opposite could be said for Team Yamato, as Sakura and Sai were currently arguing with Sora about the events that happened in the mountainous ravine that they had just been in. Naruto wasn't too focused on that, however, as he chose this time to ask his mother for a book. Everyone seemed puzzled as Naruto wasn't one for books, but in order for him to even come up with a time-space ninjutsu that both he and his mother could use, then he would need lots of hours of reading in regards to such things. So Kushina handed him one of the book she had brought with her and Naruto read through it. Let's see, I remember Ka-chan asking me what I thought of when the words time-space came into my head. I wasn't sure how to answer her, but now that I think about it, then maybe it's something like dimensional. Traveling across a plane to another in one swift movement of matter. Whoa Kyubi, I almost lost myself. Thank Kami that Ka-chan taught me vocabulary, Naruto said, making his tenant open his eyes. The bijou yawned and rolled his eyes. No matter how smart she makes you, you are still going to be the same idiot to me, Kyubi said, and Naruto snorted. You could be nice, Naruto said, and it was Kyubi's turn to laugh mockingly. Yeah, and while I'm at it I might as well dress in drag and do the hoola. Not on your life, Kit, Kyubi said while Naruto groaned. Actually I'd be scared if you did dress in drag and did the hoola. Well, alright, since you've got nothing else insulting to say to me, then you can go back to sleep, Naruto said, and Kyubi took him up on that and closed his eyes again as Naruto continued to read. Ka-chan told me that Tusan said there are 2 types of time-space ninjutsu that he was aware of, but they were used for the same purpose. All were a sort of teleportation. His Hiration was teleportation using special chakra configuration kunai and seals. She said she didn't know the other one, but I figured it out. Kakashi-sensei's Kamui. Projection teleportation. Sending things off to another dimension. Maybe I should combine those steps. Being able to move across the place with other things. Kyuso, this is hard. The point is how to go about it, Naruto pondered to himself for about half of the trip. He failed to notice that the sun was coming up. They had been walking all night. The blonde sighed as he was still going from early morning rest. It was a big pain. Alright, I've already decided on the type I want, and now for a name. The name comes before anything. Cool name. I thought Juhaden was good, but after second thoughts maybe not. Time space and its movement. I got it, Databayo. The Kokonyugami, distorted space, Naruto yelled out in his mind unconsciously while smiling. Now all he needed was the theory and then the practice with his mother, and that would result in hundreds of failures. Ugh, the hard part was still coming, and even then he still didn't understand it all, but he would get it or die trying. Oh, okay, maybe not die trying. Hey Dobe, we're here, Sasuke said, but Naruto didn't hear him as tons of thoughts were going through his head. After resting he would have to meet with his mother and tell her about his idea. She would be ecstatic, he figured. Maybe she might even know more than he did. Her mind might be more dangerous than his was. Dobe! Sasuke yelled and Naruto snapped from his stupor. He lowered his book and turned to his teammate. What? Naruto asked, having his thoughts interrupted, and Yugao pointed. We're here, Naruto. Come on, we're all about to go to the Hokage mansion for our report, Yugao said, and Naruto sighed with a nod of his head. After that we can all take a bit of rest in our homes and have some time to ourselves, Kushina said, and everyone nodded as Naruto guided Fuka inside the enormous walls. She gazed at them in awe, but knowing that she probably would have destroyed them any day without meeting Naruto sort of made her uncomfortable. "Come on Fuka-chan, let's hurry," Naruto said, and Fuka merely shrugged her shoulders and followed the others inside. The sun was pretty much up for them as the village started to come alive with activity. Everyone else took to the rooftops to avoid detection by the civilians who were opening their shops and conversing with each other. "It's really nice to have you back in the village, Sasuke-kun," Sakura said, and Sasuke glanced at her smile. He snorted and looked away while Naruto sighed. Same old Sakura it seemed. Sasuke muttered and looked off in the distance. Sakura sighed and continued to run before a voice was heard. "Oh well, aren't you guys a sight for sore eyes?" Asuma said, coming up to them. Everyone stopped on the rooftops to glance at the bearded Jonin who was looking over Kakashi. "Nice duds there, Kakashi," Asuma said, and Kakashi gave an eye smile while Asuma turned his head to Sora. He immediately smiled at his friend, seeing that the small monk had grown well into his years. "Hey Sora," Asuma said, and Sora smiled at the Jonin. It was probably the only true smile he ever showed anyone, ever. "Hey Asuma. I'm glad you've been well," Sora said, and Asuma nodded his head. "So where are you all going?" Asuma asked, and Kushina pointed to the Hokage mansion. "Simple, we're all going to the Hokage mansion for a mission. You're welcome to come with us if you'd like," she said, and Asuma sighed. "Yeah, alright. It's been ages since I've seen Sora around." "Let's go," Asuma said, and everyone ran off. Hokage mansion. "Now Sora, remember this is Hokage-sama, be sure to treat her with respect or you'll get sent through that door, I promise you," Sakura said, and Sora rolled his eyes at Sakura's comment. Yeah, can we just get this over with?" he asked, and Sakura nodded her head. "Excuse me Tsunade-sama," Sakura said as she and Sai followed Sora inside while Team Heineken waited for their turn. "So Asuma, where do you know Sora from?" Kakashi asked, and Asuma sighed as he leaned against the wall. "I know Sora from Dash, Boom." Everyone watched as Sora was sent into the wall, making a crash while he slumped to the ground. "Tsunade-sama." Shizen's voice yelled while Sora looked like the freaking woman was insane. He could only watch as Tsunade jumped into the air and slammed him back into the wall. "Sora, apologize." Sakura yelled while the Heineken members' sweat dropped. Fuka just stared at the incident in curiosity while paying attention to the blonde woman in front of her. "So that was the Godame Hokage, huh? Even the Buddha forgives you once. Who are you calling Basan?" Tsunade yelled, bringing her fist back. While Sora cowered. Naruto and Sasuke widened their eyes while Kushina and Mikoto snickered. Kakashi and Yugao were waiting for the blonde to spill while Fuka shook her head. "No. I called you a bodhisattva." Sora yelled as Tsunade slammed the wall inches from his face. Sora gulped as he remembered. A bodhisattva was a person who reached enlightenment and helps to guide others to the same thing. It didn't seem to be working for him at right now. "Bodhisattva?" Tsunade asked, remembering what those types of people were. Sora quickly shook his head, not wanting to anger the female Hokage any more than he did, while Tsunade smiled. "Oh, I see. Well, that's fine. Nice work. Welcome to Konoha no Sato," Tsunade said, grabbing Sora's monk vest while dragging him into the office. Asuma sighed and the Heineken members lightly chuckled while Asuma continued. "I remember Sora back when I was a part of the Guardian 12 assigned to protect the daimyo. He always was a kid at the time. But you've really grown up, Sora," Asuma said, keeping the last part to himself. Meanwhile, Sora, Sakura and Sai left the room with Sakura telling Sasuke and Naruto she would meet with them later. Now it was their turn. "Come in, Heineken," Tsunade said, and all the members of Heineken showed up as Naruto guided Fuka through the door. "Report Kushina," Tsunade said, and Kushina nodded her head to Tsunade's orders. "We encountered the enemy and set the plan to neutralize them. We had seen the 4 coffins in the fields and I made the necessary action to go after them." Soon we all got split from each other in the enemy terrain-changing jutsu. Even though separate, we all managed to hold our own. Yugao and I were able to deal with one of their men, who is now dead. Naruto managed to shift another's loyalty. She is here with a now. After we reunited, we were able to capture only one coffin. The other 3 got away along with the enemy, but I'm sure Sora told you who the leader was, Kushina said, and Tsunade nodded her head. She glanced at Fuka, who had her arms folded, while Naruto smiled. Bachan, this is Fuka-chan, Naruto said, introducing the two. Fuka looked at Tsunade with a bit of indifference, and Tsunade did the same. Both gathered their own opinions about the other and just smiled. Hello, Fuka said, and Tsunade smiled. Hello. Now then, is there a reason why you changed? Tsunade asked suspiciously, and Fuka turned to Naruto and Kushina. It's not fun having to be away from family, I guess. Maybe I'm growing up now, Fuka said, and while Tsunade wasn't sure what she meant before sighing. So you were one of the grave robbers? Tsunade asked, and Fuka nodded, not trying at all to hide the shame. In fact, she didn't really feel any. Having met Fuka, in the short time that he knew her, Naruto was sure that Fuka was much too proud to feel shame. Hell, she kissed her cousin like it was nothing and she just met him. Yep, no shame on that girl. Not that Naruto really minded. That's right. I will disclose any and all information that you might have that I can provide, Fuka said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes at the maroon-haired woman before smirking. Are you sure now? While I will take the information, I can't say the same about your crimes, Tsunade said, and Fuka sighed while Naruto raised his hand. No need to worry about that, Bachan. I'll be watching her. You trust me, right? Naruto asked, and Tsunade sighed. That word trust seemed to be very strained in this room. Tsunade, after learning of Naruto's contract, had actually come to trust him more than lately. He at least had the best reason for lying. Not to mention the best fears on why he did so. Fine brat. I'll take her to the interrogation department. She tells all information, then you can watch her for all I care. She runs amok, it's on your head, Tsunade threatened, and Naruto took that threat to heart. Understood, Bachan, he said, and Tsunade sighed. Good, now then Heineken, you will all be assigned the mission of village security. I'm sure those other 2 aren't done with trying to get that corpse, but for now we'll wait. You may all rest up. While Fuka will be escorted to the interrogation department in a few hours, Tsunade said, and everyone nodded. They were about to leave before Kakashi raised his hand. Sorry Hokage-sama, but could I have you and Naruto stay behind, he asked, and Naruto stopped. Tsunade nodded and Naruto stopped. Kushina decided to escort Fuka to the Namikaze house as Naruto would be back later. What is it, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked, and Kakashi stared at Naruto in front of Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, you know of Naruto's contract? Kakashi asked, and Tsunade nodded her head. Naruto narrowed his eyes and Kakashi bowed to the blonde. Naruto, I sincerely apologize, and I know a request like this is unfair to you knowing how you do things, but I need another confirmation. Now that I know Obito is alive, I can't stop thinking about it at all. Please check, Naruto. Please let me see Rin again, Kakashi said while Naruto and Tsunade widened their eyes. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.